Naruto was taken aback, then showed a strange smile, and his voice changed accordingly. It seems that I have been seen through. What's going on here? Haven't I already recited the password? Little Sakura said coldly. That guy Naruto can't memorize such a long code. Who the hell are you? What did you do to Naruto? Sasuke smiled and said. I have the impression of this voice. It seems to be the ninja from Kusanagi village who wanted to attack the examiner before the competition started. The disguised Orochimaru looked at Sasuke in surprise, and released the transformation technique, revealing the disguised appearance of Kusanagi. I didn't expect that the famous geniuses of the Uchiha clan would know about me. It's a real pleasure for me, Sasuke said with a smile. It's just that your killing intent is too obvious. You have shown killing intent to me before. I knew you would definitely come to me. However, I should not know you. I don't know if you have misunderstood me? Orochimaru looked at Sasuke with interest and said. It's rare to see such a polite Uchiha as you. Sasuke said with a smile. Then is because you haven't met Aike, otherwise you wouldn't have said this sentence. Orochimaru seems to be stuck in memory. Uchiha Aike. The rumored Uchiha genius who doesn't seem to like going out. Little Sakura stared blankly at Sasuke who was chatting happily with Orochimaru, and said aloud. Sasuke-kun, shouldn't you be concerned about Naruto's safety now? Sasuke seemed to have just remembered, and asked suddenly. By the way, you shouldn't have shot Naruto, right? Although he signed a life and death agreement, Naruto is the son of 4th Hokage after all, and his mother Uzumaki Kushina is not an easy character to get along with. Good thing. Orochimaru said with a dark smile. You might as well guess what I did to him. Sasuke said with a smile. I guess you didn't do anything. A cold light flashed in Orochimaru's eyes. The meaning of Sasuke is very simple. It is completely ironic that Orochimaru dare not do anything to Naruto. Actually, Naruto who is Jinchuriki because the snake really dare not move at will. At least not now. After all, his secret plan has not yet begun to execute. This time I sneaked in, just to see if Sasuke, a potential stock of the Uchiha family, can be used by him. But now the sense Sasuke gave Orochimaru is an impenetrable little ghost. Very annoying. Moreover, it seems that it cannot be used by him. But it doesn't matter, he can add some trouble to the Uchiha clan. Little ghost, it seems that your elders didn't teach you to respect those who are stronger than you, did they? Sasuke said with a smile. How do you know that you are stronger than me if you haven't fought before? Orochimaru smirked, then licked his lips with his long tongue and said. Because the gap in strength is absolute. In an instant, Orochimaru's killing intent was fully opened. A look of fear appeared on little Sakura's face. Even Sasuke's face couldn't help but change. In the killing intent, Orochimaru also mixed some illusions to strengthen his aura. With this method, it is easy to deal with these fledgling genins. Then, a huge giant snake appeared, and its head, which was bigger than a human, rushed over. The target was directed at the immobile Sasuke and little Sakura. However, at a critical juncture, Sasuke cut his thigh and forcibly used the pain to wake up his limbs. At the critical moment, he took little Sakura to escape the attack of the giant snake. It's useless, you have no way to escape. Orochimaru licked his lips excitedly, vengeful pleasure in his eyes. He commanded the giant snake to sprint towards Sasuke and the little Sakura continuously. The huge snake teeth were about to land on the tree trunk, and the trunk was corroded in an instant, leaving nothing left. The toxicity is fierce and makes people shudder. However, this is only Orochimaru's perspective. He's here, what? Little Sakura pointed blankly at Orochimaru who was wreaking havoc not far away, and turned to look at Sasuke. Then I found that Sasuke's eyes turned into Scarlet 3 Tomo Sharingan. This is the first time little Sakura saw Sasuke use Sharingan. Her gaze couldn't help but sink deeply into it. Sasuke said with a smile. It's very simple, just let him fall into the illusion, thinking that he is attacking us. Although it looks very strong, I didn't expect the resistance to illusion to be so poor. I haven't realized that I have been hit by illusion until now. Little Sakura listened to Sasuke's understated tone, and then saw the big movement made by Orochimaru's attack, and couldn't help swallowing. If it wasn't for Sasuke, she would have been swallowed and digested by the giant snake long ago. Deidara. Laugh. The whole world knows that Orochimaru has poor illusion resistance. Kakuzu. What does it matter? Anyway, this guy is very hard to die. Those guys who have been planted with the curse mark may all become his resurrection containers. Orochimaru. This is the real trump card. Even if you already know it, you can't do anything to me, because I am immortal. Tsunade. But you can be sealed. The reality is that you will be sealed in by Itachi's 10-fist sword. If you were not rescued by others, you will probably be sealed forever. Naruto. The legendary Sannin is too weak, isn't he? Can't even break Sasuke's illusion? Shikamaru. It can only be said that this guy has already turned himself into a human being and a ghost. I am afraid that his soul will not be complete if he practices this forbidden technique. Onoki. This may be the reason why Orochimaru is weak against illusions. Anyway, don't be afraid when you see Orochimaru. Give him an illusion first, and he will not be a threat. Scorpion. Such a weak Sannin is really embarrassing. Grandma Chio. My grandson is right, it's really embarrassing. After a long time, Orochimaru finally realized that something was wrong. He is also one of the Sannin. He didn't pay attention at first, and fell into the illusion without knowing it. But after careful observation, he immediately knew that he had been hit by an illusion. After he released the illusion, he looked at the mess in front of him, and Sasuke and little Sakura who were watching the show not far behind, his face completely gloomy. Besides being angry, Orochimaru was also a little scared. He never expected that he could not even resist the illusion performed by a genin who had just graduated. But Orochimaru soon found Sasuke's eyes, and his eyes could not help but light up. I didn't expect you to have awakened the three-go jade. Even if this talent is compared with your brother, it is not much worse. Sasuke tilted his head slightly, showing a puzzled expression. Your Excellency seems to know my brother. Where did you know? Although Sasuke had a smile on his face, his eyes looking at Orochimaru became colder and colder. At this time, Uchiha Itachi was an Anbu and usually acted with a mask. How did Genin, a mere member of the Grass Ninja Village, know about his brother's existence? Although Sasuke can feel that the strength of the person in front of him is more than just Genin, but that is not the reason why he can know Uchiha Itachi. Hum, Orochimaru chuckled. Then, put your hands on your neck. Ah! Little Sakura let out a short exclamation, and then quickly covered her mouth. His eyes were full of horror. She saw Orochimaru peeling off his skin bit by bit, and then revealed another face. Sasuke raised his eyebrows, a little surprised, but not completely surprised. It turns out he is Lord Orochimaru who defected. No wonder he knows my brother. I once heard from people in the clan that you were on a very dangerous mission. You were expelled from the third Hokage because you cruelly used ninjas from the same village to conduct research on the forbidden technique. Orochimaru looked at Sasuke in surprise. I didn't expect you, a brat, to know a lot. Yes, but what you don't know is... Sasuke smiled and interrupted Orochimaru. Are you referring to the fact that your actions were tacitly approved? I have also heard about this from people in the clan. Orochimaru's eyes flickered and he looked at Sasuke and said. It's really curious who told you so many things. Sasuke didn't mean to hide it, and said with a light smile. It's Aike. I think Lord Orochimaru knows Aike too. Orochimaru suddenly realized. It turned out to be him. I didn't expect him to know this kind of secret, and even told you. In fact, Orochimaru guessed completely wrong. Sasuke did find out from Aike, but the source of the information belongs to the roots. After Shisui took control of Danzo with the distinguished heavenly gods, the roots were the stuff of Uchiha's clan. But on the bright side, the roots still maintain what they used to be, and they will always appear to be against Uchiha in all aspects. This also makes Danzo have not been exposed to be controlled by others until now. It can only be said that distinguished heavenly gods is too mysterious, and the time of influence is very far-reaching. Sasuke, you are great. Better than that person. I am looking forward to your future. Orochimaru said in a low voice, his neck stretched suddenly, and he flew over at an extremely fast speed. So I'm going to give you a gift. Ah! Little Sakura let out another exclamation, and her body was so stiff that she couldn't move. He could only watch as Orochimaru's head quickly approached Sasuke. Then, she saw Sasuke lightly slap Orochimaru's head aside. I don't like having people so close to me, and in such a disgusting state. Sasuke had a smile on his face, but his eyes were extremely cold. Apparently he was really angry. Orochimaru looked confused, never expecting that his attack would be resolved so lightly. He didn't even see how Sasuke did it. I only felt a pain in my cheek, and then my eyes turned to another place. But then, Orochimaru felt a sense of crisis and quickly retracted his neck. After all, his neck is currently in an extended state. If Sasuke takes out a kunai and cuts off his neck, will he die unjustly? Although he would not die so simply, he did not want to let his long-planned plan fail just like that. Orochimaru thought well, but Sasuke's hand was faster. He grabbed Orochimaru's neck so that Orochimaru could not retract his head, then pulled him over and said with a smile. I don't know what the purpose of your coming here is. But this is the Chunin exam and I don't want to fail, so you know what I mean? It's best not to do anything, otherwise I won't be able to spare you. After saying that, Sasuke let go of his hand and pulled Sakura back, just in time to avoid the ninjutsu attack from Orochimaru's body. Ha ha ha. Brat, you dare to threaten me. Orochimaru was furious, never expecting that a simple test would make him so embarrassed. You will die here today. Orochimaru was about to use ninjutsu. But he suddenly stopped, put down his hand and said. HMPH. Forget it this time, don't let me find a second chance, I will make you pay the price, Sasuke-kun. After saying that, he left instantly. After Orochimaru left, another figure suddenly appeared. Surprisingly, it was the examiner of the second exam, Mitarashi Anko. At this time, Anko's face did not have the bright smile before the exam, but looked extremely serious. Are you two okay? Where is your other team member? Who did you meet? Before Sasuke could speak, little Sakura breathed a sigh of relief when she saw Mitarashi Anko, and quickly told what happened just now. When he heard that Orochimaru easily fell into Sasuke's illusion and was tricked, Anko's eyes were full of disbelief. There must be a limit for children to lie. That's an S-level rebellious ninja, and it can't be affected by the little illusions you use. Little Sakura heard Anko's rebuttal, and said a little aggrieved. But Sasuke-kun is really under control, I didn't lie. Sasuke said with a smile. Indeed, Sir Examiner, I have no reason to lie. Although this matter cannot be verified, exaggerating does not do much good for me. I am the Uchiha clan, and I am the second son of the head of the Uchiha clan. If I say such exaggerated things, I may gain some benefits in the short term, but the shame after being exposed will bring shame to my entire tribe. There's no way I could lie about something like that. When Anko heard it, it seemed like the idea of the Uchiha clan. But that's Orochimaru, it was her former master. In her heart, a ninja that she thought was extremely powerful, but in the end was tricked by a genin with illusion? This was simply unacceptable to her. Okay, there's no need to talk about this matter. What about your other companion? If he is killed, you will also lose this qualification together, because this pass requires the group to advance together. Little Sakura pouted and said. That idiot probably doesn't know what's going on here. It's unbelievable that it's Lord Hokage's son. Anko's face stiffened. Hokage-sama, son. You mean, your other partner is Lord Hokage's son? Although Anko was not very sensitive to this aspect, he also felt the seriousness of the problem at this time. If Orochimaru had killed Naruto, she, the chief examiner, would definitely be held accountable. Even if the gentle fourth Hokage doesn't hold her accountable, she can't face the result herself. Hurry up. Do you remember where he went? Anko urged anxiously, wanting to ensure Naruto's safety first. Sasuke spread his hands and said, he's on patrol, and logically he won't be far away. And there's a lot of commotion here, but he hasn't shown up yet, obviously he's encountered some problems. As for what the problem is, Sasuke couldn't help showing a regretful smile. It's a pity, he is still a good opponent, it's a pity that Yingnan. Shut up. An exasperated voice came over. Several people turned their heads and saw Naruto running over covered in inexplicable mucus. I'm not going to die. I'm definitely not going to die until I become Hokage. Naruto yelled. Sasuke said with a smile and spread his hands. Then what have you been doing all this time? We encountered an attack of enemies here, patrolling is your duty, but you have neglected your duty. Also, what are these things on your body? You shouldn't be eaten by something, right? Saying that, Sasuke pinched his nose and stepped back with a look of disgust. It was as if a strange smell emanated from Naruto's body. In fact, Naruto does emit a strange smell. Just smelling it makes people feel sick. But seeing that Naruto was safe and sound, Anko immediately breathed a sigh of relief. So far so good, huh? Sister Examiner. What are you doing here? Only then did Naruto find Anko standing aside, and asked in surprise. Little Sakura said angrily. We just encountered a rebellious ninja attack, and that rebellious ninja pretended to be you, that was immediately exposed by Sasuke-kun. And I was beaten away by Sasuke-kun in 2 or 3 hits. Sasuke said modestly. Wherever it is, it's all thanks to the examiner. Orochimaru had to leave because of the appearance of the examiner. After Anko relaxed, he also understood the seriousness of the situation. You must be extremely careful now. I must report this matter to Lord Hokage as soon as possible. As for whether the Chunin exam will continue, it depends on Hokage-sama's will. After speaking, she disappeared with a whoosh. Seeing Anko leave, Naruto was full of surprise. What the hell happened? Little Sakura angrily repeated what happened just now. Naruto nodded in amazement, and then began to talk bitterly about what happened to him just now. I was patrolling well, but a snake that big suddenly appeared and swallowed me in one bite. It took a lot of effort to get out before I was digested. But I didn't expect you to meet such a dangerous person. Fortunately, Sasuke is here, otherwise little Sakura would be in danger. Sasuke said with a smile. Don't worry, little Sakura is my companion. How could I put her in danger? Sasuke-kun. Little Sakura put her hands together and looked at Sasuke adoringly. Naruto looked at Sasuke full of taste. If I were here, I would just beat that guy to the ground. Absolutely won't put little Sakura in any danger. Sasuke said with a smile. Yes, you are the best. Naruto said dissatisfied. What's the matter with your perfunctory attitude? I'm telling the truth. The three of them moved forward noisily, without any sense of urgency to take the Chunin exam. Deidara. I haven't seen you for a few days, Orochimaru. You are too lazy, you can't even handle a Uchiha kid. Kakashi. There's no way, Orochimaru's resistance to illusion is too weak now, and Sasuke has awakened the three-god Jade at this time, even Jonin may be tricked. Kakuzu. In this regard, the Uchiha family is really taking advantage. I can understand why Danzo wants to eradicate Uchiha. Grandma Chio. The power is beyond my control, and it has very strong strength. It is impossible for any ambitious person to let them continue to live. Scorpion. By the way, Danzo has been turned into a puppet of the Uchiha clan. I don't know if Hokage is clear about this. If he is not clear, it will be very interesting. Terumi Mei. I'm afraid I don't know, otherwise, even if it is as gentle as 4th Hokage, it is impossible to do nothing. 4th Raikage. Gentle? That guy can kill without batting an eyelid on the battlefield. I don't know how many ninjas died in his hands. Killer Bee. That's right. I almost died in his hands, of course, my knife was pointed at him at that time. Onoki. I am suddenly curious about the purpose of Orochimaru's presence here. Don't forget that the person Orochimaru plans to kill is Sarutobi Hiruzen, not Namikaze Minato. How will his plan be implemented? Luo Sha. No matter what the result is, I will definitely be fooled very stupidly, alas. Pain. Since Orochimaru appears here, it means that he must have his plan, but I am very puzzled whether he is still affiliated with the Akatsuki organization. Jiraiya. Indeed, Orochimaru left the organization because he shot Itachi and was countered, and also lost an arm. Tsunade. But now that Uchiha Itachi has not defected, but is serving as Anbu, Orochimaru seems to have no reason to leave the Akatsuki organization at all? Orochimaru. No, even without Itachi, I was planning to leave that organization. I first joined that organization because of Rinnegan of Pain, but doing things for him is obviously not in line with my plan. That incident was just a trigger. Naruto. Damn it. Originally, this is where I show my talents. Shikamaru. Just give up, with Ake's guidance. Sasuke in the video is already too strong, you can't catch up at all. Shino. After all, it is Ake, who can always create all kinds of miracles. Hidan. But in the video, I can't see Master Ake very much. I don't know what he is busy with. Hanzo of the Salamander. Naturally planning everything in secret, you idiot. Not long after advancing, the three of Sasuke met someone blocking the way. A team from Yinin village. They looked very arrogant, as if they didn't take Sasuke and the others seriously. Hand over your scrolls, so I can't get around you. Sasuke didn't know what the three people on the other side relied on to be so arrogant. But he said with a smile on his face, are you all so confident that you can defeat us? You know, the people standing in front of you are the sons of the Uchiha clan chief and the son of the 4th Hokage. There is also a genius female ninja who is destined to be very outstanding in the future. You, a genin from a little-known shinobi village, have such an arrogant attitude. Aren't you a little too arrogant? Sasuke looked at Sasuke arrogantly. How can you guys who grew up in a greenhouse understand the strength of ninjas like us who have been through life and death? I'm afraid you haven't even seen the body. If you don't want to be beaten until you cry for father and mother later, you'd better hand over the scroll to me honestly. Toss behind him said coldly. Stop talking so much nonsense and fight quickly to avoid attracting the monster from Sanagakure. Jintu said with a sneer. In that case, then leave the pink-haired one to me. I hate such cute girls. In words, he looked down upon the three Sasukes so much. Naruto's face was full of anger and he was about to step forward and say something. However, Sasuke stretched out his hand to stop him. Turning around, Naruto found that the smile on Sasuke's face had become even brighter. Naruto couldn't help but shudder. I have seen Sasuke's smile for so many years, and from the initial discomfort, I have become very familiar with it now. Naruto thought he had done some research on Sasuke's smile. When Sasuke's smile is very light, it means that Sasuke is in a good mood. But if Sasuke's smile becomes very exaggerated, it means that Sasuke is in a very bad mood. Once Naruto didn't pay attention, and after angering Sasuke in this state, Naruto lost his memory for a day. He couldn't remember what he did that day, but whenever he tried to recall, his body would tremble involuntarily. It was as if he didn't remember that experience, but his body remembered it firmly, and he was deeply afraid of it. Therefore, every time he saw this bright smile on Sasuke's face, he would run away from Sasuke as quickly as possible. Little Sakura even took a dozen steps back, because little Sakura and everyone else in the class had seen what Sasuke did to Naruto at that time. It can only be said that that memory was too terrifying, and just the memory of it made little Sakura shudder. Sak was completely unaware of this, and immediately said sarcastically as he watched little Sakura retreat quickly. Sure enough, guys like you who grew up in a big village don't know the cruelty of living outside. We can stand out because democracy is stained with the blood of many people. And you will be one of the next ones. Sasuke walked forward, opening his hands with a bright smile on his face. Really? But in my opinion, you are so weak. Weak enough to. You didn't even notice I was approaching. Obviously the person was still walking in front of them, but suddenly, Sasuke's voice came from Sasuke's ears. Careful. Next to you. Tuosi and Jintu shouted loudly. Sark also turned his head immediately, but the next moment, he only felt that his vision was spinning. Then his consciousness fell into drowsiness. Seeing Sak falling into a coma after one move, Toss and Jintu couldn't help but swallowed. Then, both of them turned around and jumped without even looking at Sak. There is absolutely no team spirit of living and dying together. They just ran away? Did they even ignore their teammates? Naruto said dissatisfied. For the kind Naruto, this kind of thing is obviously unacceptable to him. The smile on Sasuke's face didn't fade away, but became more and more strange. Of course they won't just run away. As Sasuke finished speaking, he saw two people rushing in front of the three of them. A sudden stop, Toss and Kinto looked at Sasuke and Naruto with horrified expressions, and then looked back at the way they came. They couldn't figure it out at all. They were obviously just moving forward in a straight line at full speed, but why did they suddenly turn 180 degrees and return to the starting point? Naruto was also a little confused. Why did you suddenly come back? Little Sakura understood immediately. Idiot Naruto. It's not that they ran back, it was Sasuke who used genjutsu on them. Illusion. This word appeared in the minds of Toss and Jintu, making them immediately understand why they behaved so abnormally. The most famous thing about Sharingan is naturally its unparalleled powerful illusion ability. However, when they thought back, they knew that they could no longer escape from Sasuke's hands. Because this is impossible. Sasuke had a bright smile on his face. Escape. Why don't you continue to escape? Toss and Jintu looked at each other, and then Toss kneeled on the ground decisively and took out their scrolls from his arms. I'm extremely sorry, we are so ignorant that we actually tried to deal with you. My lords, please have a lot of money and let us go. This scroll will be regarded as our apology. Sasuke said in very artificial surprise. Just give it to us like this. How can this be so embarrassing? Aren't you sure you want to struggle a little more? Hearing the word struggle, Toss and Jintu's bodies trembled involuntarily, and Toss buried his head lower. No, we are far from your opponent. Continuing to fight will only bring humiliation to ourselves. Seeing that he lowered his posture so low, Sasuke suppressed some of his smile and smiled lightly. In that case, just take this piece of garbage and leave. And don't show up in front of us again, Toss said quickly. I will always remember your generosity and thank you very much. With that said, he left the scroll where it was, and then he and Jintu dragged Sak away and ran away. Then not long after, the three people returned to their original positions again. Fortunately, they didn't see the scary Sasuke trio this time. But the downside is that they don't know when this illusion will be solved. They tried it on the way and used their companion's chakra to relieve it. But they thought it was lifted, but now they are still back to their original position incredibly. This situation immediately made Toss and Jin too desperate. They were like castaways trapped on an island, and no one could save them. Walking on the road, little Sakura asked puzzledly. Just let them go? It doesn't seem like Sasuke-kun's style. Little Sakura still remembers how badly Naruto was treated in the ninja school. As a result, when facing the trio from Sound Ninja Village, they seemed very magnanimous. Sasuke said with a smile, "Who said I let them go 6? Deidara. 3 Tomo Sharingan's fight against these genin is simply a dimensionality reduction attack. Unknowingly, it is an illusion. There is no need to fight." Kakuzu. Sound Ninja Village is Orochimaru's ninja village, right? It seems that they are not willing to be played by Sasuke, so they sent these people here to explore the truth? Hidan. This is so funny. Are these Orochimaru's men? How embarrassing. Onoki. Judging from ordinary standards, the strength of these 3 people is definitely good in genin, but they are facing 2 monster-level opponents. Having this choice can be regarded as a no-return gangster. 4th Raikage. You should also blame Orochimaru. He dared to send these 3 brats to face Sasuke, who was trained by Aike. I don't even dare to do this. Grandma Chiyo. Muscular idiot, Orochimaru doesn't know about this. Terumi Mei. Do you need to think about this in detail? Aike is now a member of Uchihas, and Sasuke is the son of the Uchiha clan leader. And looking at the 2 people's almost identical smiles, Orochimaru, who has seen Aike before, even does this, don't you even have the ability to associate? Scorpion. You're right. It was Orochimaru who was reckless this time. He should have been more cautious, especially if he had other purposes. Killer Bee. Speaking of which, Orochimaru came here to kill the 3rd Hokage before, but now Sarutobi Hiruzen is an old man with no rights. Is he going to kill Namikaze Minato this time? But can he beat him? Pain. Maybe, he has other purposes this time, or maybe he is here just for Namikaze Minato. After solving the incident involving the Sound Ninja team and obtaining the Sound Ninja team's scroll, Sasuke and the others collected 2 scrolls. Next, they only need to go to the central tower to complete the mission. During this period, they encountered several desperate teams who wanted to attack them, but Naruto easily dismissed them. Although Naruto suffered some losses due to his carelessness, due to his constitution, the injuries he sustained healed almost in the blink of an eye. It took 2 leisurely days for the 3 of them to arrive at the central tower, just like taking a walk. When they arrived, 2 teams had already arrived. One of them is Konoha's Inuzuka Kiba, Aburame Shino and Hyuga Hinata's team. And Sanagakure's team. The short man with dark circles under his eyes gave people a very bad feeling. The other 2 people also stared at Sasuke and the others with scrutinizing eyes. Hey, are you too slow? Ya came over and said with a smile. Although you are the last team to come in, with your strength, wouldn't it be easy to grab the scroll? Naruto smiled and clapped his hands with his teeth, and then said. There was a little accident, otherwise we could have been faster. Sakura said angrily. I don't know who caused the accident. The smile on Naruto's face was suddenly difficult to maintain. Sasuke looked at the 3 members of the Sand Shinobi team with a smile. They had met these 3 people before the Chunin exam. He didn't care about Kankuro and Temari. It's just Gaara, he feels so cared about. There seems to be a beast hidden in that short body. The feeling given to Sasuke was the same as when facing Naruto. However, the sense of oppression given to Sasuke was naturally far inferior to that of Naruto. This is where Sasuke can understand. Tailed beast. I think Sanagakure's tailed beast is one-tail Shukaku. Since it's one tail, there's nothing to be afraid of. In response to Gaara's steady gaze, Sasuke smiled back and then followed the team into the tower. Next, they just need to wait patiently for the passage of time. Finally, the time for the assessment passed. During this period, 4 more teams came in one after another. 3 of the teams are Konoha's teams, Konoha's famous Inoshika Cho team. And a team with the talented Hyuga Neji. There is another team that Sasuke is not familiar with, but he knows them. Because these 3 people are recorded in Danzo's intelligence. In other words, these 3 people are intelligence personnel, and they are not Konoha's intelligence personnel. Instead, it was a spy planted by Orochimaru in Konoha. However, this has nothing to do with Sasuke. Spying is something Hokage needs to worry about. He is just a genin. The only team that was not from Konoha was the Sound Ninja team that was scared by Sasuke and fled in a hurry. When they saw Sasuke's smiling face, they all trembled involuntarily. Apparently the previous memories haven't faded from their minds. They were trapped for 2 whole days. The illusion effect Sasuke cast on them finally disappeared. At this point, the second test of the Chunin exam is over. The 7 teams that advance are in the daily zone. During the third game, a personal battle, Yakushi Kabuto, one of the spy trio, raised his hand and opted out. And it's not the first time he's opted out. This behavior itself is very suspicious. After the episode where Yakushi Kabuto quit the exam, the preliminaries for the third exam began. With Sasuke and Naruto's abilities, they passed the exam easily. On the other hand, little Sakura and Ino were eliminated after another round of noob pecking. Only 9 people made the final cut. The main race will not take place until a month later. Why do you have to wait so long? Naruto was puzzled by this. Sasuke answered with a smile. The main competition is just a show. The real assessment has already ended in the preliminaries. The main game is just a show for the officials and senior officials of those countries to see the potential of Konoha, so that they can increase their military spending on Konoha. Naruto doesn't know why. I don't understand the twists and turns here. But Sasuke followed Ike and learned a lot of things that he wouldn't have had access to at his age. Use this period to work hard and don't be easily eliminated by others. Sasuke smiled and talked to Naruto, then he left. Naruto was furious and shouted at Sasuke. Just wait, I will definitely defeat you and get the first place in the Chunin exam. Sasuke didn't look back, he just raised his hand and waved it. Returning to the tribe, Sasuke did not go home, but took the lead to a training ground. When he arrived, he found 2 figures already waiting there. Congratulations, Sasuke. Uchiha Itachi had a gentle smile on his face. It makes people feel like a spring breeze, but he only showed this smile to Sasuke, and even his parents rarely saw it. Ike said with a smile. How's it going? Did you encounter anything interesting? Sasuke said with a smile. As you said Ike, I met Orochimaru. Deidara. Master Ike had already expected that Orochimaru would attack. This is amazing. Kakuzu. This is very strange. Orochimaru must be very secretive about this matter. Where did Ike get the news? Ahonoki. Needless to say, it must be Danzo. After all, in our future, when Sarutobi Hiruzen was killed by Orochimaru, it was strange that none of the root members showed up. It must have been Orochimaru who greeted Danzo in advance. Scorpion. With Danzo's desire for the position of Hokage, it is indeed something he can do, but Danzo in this video has been controlled by Shisui's distinguished heavenly gods and became Uchiha's puppet, and Orochimaru should not be aware of this yet, just be clear. Tsunade. It feels like Orochimaru is going to turn into a dead snake now. Jiraiya. Indeed, Orochimaru has hit the iron plate. Hidan. There's something good to watch now. He didn't do anything to you, right? A cold glint flashed in Uchiha Itachi's eyes. If Orochimaru dares to attack Sasuke, or even hurt Sasuke, Uchiha Itachi swears that he will break Orochimaru into pieces and never be reincarnated. As the ultimate twisted Brokon, Uchiha Itachi will not forgive anyone who hurts Sasuke. Sasuke said with a smile. I'm fine. On the contrary, Orochimaru gave me a very strange feeling. He was easily hit by an illusion, and his resistance was very low. It almost took him several minutes to realize that he had been hit by an illusion. Uchiha Itachi's brows suddenly frowned. This description clearly didn't fit his impression of Orochimaru. After all, Orochimaru is one of the legendary Sannin, and the most genius in ninjutsu among the 3. The resistance to illusions should be very strong. As a result, it now appears that Orochimaru's illusion resistance is about the same as that of an ordinary Chunin. This is so strange. Ike said with a smile. This is also what I expected. According to the information given by Danzo, Orochimaru is researching an immortality technique. Perhaps the reduction in illusion resistance is a side effect of that technique. Uchiha Itachi nodded and said, that makes sense. Sasuke was not interested in this, he said to Ike expectantly. Anyway, Orochimaru will definitely launch his plan in a month. I can't waste this month, I want to continue to improve my strength. That guy Naruto will definitely not stand still. Aunt Kushina will not sit back and watch Naruto continue to lose to me. Sasuke felt helpless when he thought of Uzumaki Kushina. Kushina is very kind to Sasuke. After all, Kushina has a very good relationship with Sasuke's mother Makoto. But after losing to Sasuke many times, Kushinji became more determined to win. Every time Naruto failed and returned, he would be severely punished by Kushina. But with the help of Ike on Sasuke's side, his improvement in strength is also very stable. However, Ike has never found a chance to help Sasuke open Mangekyo. Because Sasuke is too smooth sailing now, there are not too many negative emotions accumulated in my heart at all. To awaken Mangekyo, it is not enough. Therefore, after having turned on Sanmagatama for such a long time, Sasuke shows no sign of awakening Mangekyo. What do you want to train now? Ike asked with a smile. Sasuke smiled similarly. Illusion. Sasuke found out. Illusion is so convenient. No matter it is a strong enemy or a weak one, as long as he is under the illusion, he can only be at his mercy. Moreover, Sharingan's amplification of illusions is very strong, and it can easily reverse the strength gap and defeat powerful opponents. The most important thing is that illusion is so elegant. Very much in line with Sasuke's taste, Ike said with a smile. Okay then, where did we talk about last time? By the way, the highest level of illusion is not to create a realistic environment, because no matter how realistic the environment is, what is fake will always be fake. So, the highest state of illusion is. Before Ike could finish speaking, Sasuke rushed to answer. It's a psychological suggestion. In this way, Sasuke began his month-long training. During this period, there was an undercurrent in Konoha village. All forces on all sides noticed something, but they all waited patiently and observed the situation. In the house of Sarutobi Hiruzen, home of the Sarutobi clan, there was only one candle in the dark room, lighting up the faces sitting in a circle. The leader is none other than 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. This time, Sleepy Leaf will encounter a big crisis. But, we don't need to worry, because the other party's target is Namikaze Minato. And we just have to stand still. When Minato dies, I can naturally continue to serve as Hokage. There is no other more suitable candidate anyway. But we can't take action at will, otherwise if the other party's plan fails, we will be buried with him. So, we just need to stand still and wait patiently. After Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, an elder of the Sarutobi clan asked. Master Patriarch, where did you get the news? Sarutobi Hiruzen said proudly. From my old buddies, of course. Although he didn't say his name, others already knew it. Nothing more than Danzo. Although Danzo has been acting a bit strange recently. But as long as Danzo still controls the roots, he will be his greatest support for Hiruzen. Because Namikaze Minato did not die, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not experience being assassinated by Danzo's people. So Sarutobi Hiruzen still trusts Danzo very much. It's a pity that the naive Sarutobi Hiruzen doesn't know Danzo's desire for the position of Hokage. Little did he know that Danzo was just a puppet at this time. That's all. A month passed quickly. Soon, the end of the Chunin exam came. Under the spotlight, the main exhibition with only 8 participants is finally about to begin. As for why there should be 9 people, but now there are 8 people. It's because one of them is missing and there is no news yet. Although he is missing, anyone who is not a fool knows that this person is probably gone. Just one less person. Originally, 9 people would have 2 buys. Now 8 people can fit in pairs facing each other. The first game starts soon. Naruto faced off against Hyuga Neji, a graduate who was 1 year older than them and a talented student from the previous class. This battle is very eye-catching. On the one hand, there are geniuses from the Hyuga clan, one of Konoha's great clans. On the other hand is the son of 4th Hokage. The reputation of Namikaze Minato is still fresh in the memory of some old people. The golden light flashing on the battlefield is the greatest fear in the enemy's heart. People say that a tiger father has no dog sons. They all wanted to see how Naruto, the son of Namikaze Minato, would perform. In full view of the public, the battles soon began. Hyuga Neji deserves to be called a genius. In a branch house that lacks resources, he is actually able to learn various gentle fist secrets that only the Zong family can know. First, attack the secret art 8 trigrams 64 palms. Then comes Revolving Heaven, which combines offense and defense. It can be described as impeccable in terms of offense and defense. However, Naruto's talent is stronger than him. And while his parents are still alive, Naruto's strength has improved much more than his peers. Although 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato is busy with Hokage work on weekdays. But Uzumaki Kushina is an extremely powerful ninja in her own right, and her Uzumaki-style sealing technique is even better than mine. The duel between two geniuses should have been an evenly matched battle. People are waiting for a hearty battle. But after a few moves, people suddenly realized that something was wrong. Hyuga Neji, who is known as a genius, was unable to fight back at all and could only continue to resist Naruto's attacks like a storm. If Revolving Heaven hadn't been able to provide defense, I'm afraid they would have been defeated long ago. But even so, Hyuga Neji's defeat is already doomed. After all, the chakra amount gap between Naruto and Neji is really too big. However, Naruto obviously didn't want to win in this way. This seems a bit invincible. So, Naruto took out a sealing technique he learned from his mother Kushina, adamantine sealing chains. In an instant, the outcome will be announced. Hyuga Neji was unable to break free from the chains, and the flow of chakra in his body also stagnated. In the past, only the Hyuga clan used gentle fist to seal the enemy's acupuncture points to prevent the flow of chakra in the enemy's body. Unexpectedly, Hyuga Neji would taste the same thing one day. This feeling caused mixed feelings in Hyuga Neji's heart. There is no doubt that Naruto has won, and next, it's Sasuke's turn. His opponent turned out to be Gaara from the Sand Shinobi team. This battle naturally attracted a lot of attention. But most of them are for watching Sasuke. After all, Gaara is not well known, although he is the son of 4th Kazekage, not many people present know this news. It just so happens that Sasuke is one. The source of the intelligence is, of course, Danzo. For the Uchiha clan, Danzo is doing his best to obtain all kinds of information. This also brought great gains to the Uchiha clan, which originally lacked channels for obtaining information. The two players stand still. Examiner Shiranui Genma stood in the middle and looked at Sasuke and Gaara. By the way, Shiranui Genma was not the examiner of this exam. However, the original examiner, Moonlight Hayate, died unexpectedly, and the specific circumstances have not yet been investigated. So I can only let Shiranui Genma, who happens to be relatively free, take his place. Are you ready? Shiranui Genma holds a senbon in his mouth, which is also his habit. Just like a boy always likes to hold a toothpick in his mouth. Sasuke replied with a smile, I'm ready. Gaara nodded silently, without speaking. Shiranui Genma nodded, then explained the rules of the competition, and announced the start of the competition. Then, Shiranui Genma instantly made room for the two players. Your name is Gaara. I advise you to surrender. Otherwise, if you waste too much energy, it will be detrimental to your next plan. Sasuke said with a smile, seemingly polite, but the content was very domineering. Gaara frowned slightly and said, Don't worry, it won't take long to deal with you. The smile on Sasuke's face suddenly grew brighter. Really? It seems that you were really confident. What gave you so much courage? Is it the tailed beast inside you, or is it your absolute defense? Gaara stretched out his finger, and the gourd hat behind him suddenly flew out. Then a large amount of sand rushed toward Sasuke like a living creature under Gaara's control. Sasuke had already seen the power of Gaara's sand during the preliminaries. Gaara's opponent in the preliminaries, Rock Lee, is still hospitalized. Whether Rock Lee, who was severely injured, can continue his career as a ninja is still unknown. Once you get entangled in this sand, it will undoubtedly be very dangerous. However, Sasuke's trap had been laid from the very beginning. In Gaara's eyes, the sand he controlled was rushing toward Sasuke. But in the eyes of others, they only saw Gaara using ninjutsu in an inexplicable place. Sasuke, on the other hand, casually came to Gaara's side. Then, he suddenly hit Tien. Boom! Looking at the wall of sand in front of him, Sasuke was not surprised at all. It's obvious that this defensive sand doesn't exactly obey Gaara's orders. It is more like it has self-awareness and will guard Gaara's side. And this time, Gaara looked at the wall of sand that suddenly appeared next to him with a shocked expression. Obviously he didn't feel that he was being attacked, but why did the sand wall suddenly appear? Then, Gaara heard Sasuke's voice suddenly coming from beside her. Sure enough, this thing is not under your control. What a strange ninjutsu. Gaara's face was full of disbelief. Clearly in his eyes, Sasuke was right in front of him, bound by his sand and about to be crushed by him. Then he heard Sasuke's voice from so close to him? Without having time to think about what was going on, Gaara instinctively sensed a sense of crisis and immediately gathered sand around herself, forming a heavily defended sandball. Are you trying to be a coward? I have to say, This image suits you quite well. Sasuke said jokingly, his voice getting farther and farther away, obviously distancing himself from Gaara. Fire-style Great Fireball technique. The 3-meter diameter Great Fireball was spit out by Sasuke and bombarded the sandball. There was a bang. Thick smoke came out after the explosion, obscuring the situation on Gaara's side. Seeing this, Sasuke did not continue to attack, but wanted to see if his attack was effective. Soon, the smoke dissipated. The sandballs are intact. It cannot be said that there is no damage at all, but looking at those crystallized appearances, it is obvious that there is not much trouble in defense. It seems that this level of fire style is not good. Sasuke seemed troubled. In the sandball, Gaara, who felt the scorching heat just now, had cold sweat on her forehead. Fortunately, sandballs can withstand high temperatures to a certain extent. Otherwise Gaara would have been scorched in the sandball just now. Deidara. The battle gap between the two sides is too big. Is this the 5th cage? It's simply too wide. Hidan. Don't even look at who is teaching him, that's Master Aike. Onoki. Everyone who is taught by Aike can quickly stand out. Before it was Naruto, and now it is Sasuke's turn. 4th Raikage. I understand the truth, but why are they all from Konoha? Terumi Mei. Are you jealous? It doesn't matter, I'm jealous too. Granny Chiyo. This can also prove from the side how capable Konoha is. Hoshigaki Kisame. There is no need to continue looking at the outcome. Sasuke must win. Now I want to see how Orochimaru will implement his plan. Kakuzu. Indeed, this is more attractive. Although the sandball blocked Sasuke's attack this time, Gaara could not guarantee that he would be able to withstand it next time. Gaara never expected that Sasuke would be so difficult to deal with. First, he used illusions to interfere with him. Although subsequent sneak attacks were automatically blocked by the wall of sand, Gaara was still frightened. The subsequent fire style almost broke his sandball. Gaara had rarely seen this kind of power in Sunagakure. Continuing to use sandballs for defense is obviously not a good choice. Therefore, Gaara must adjust its strategy, so, he used the Eye of Sand. Use sand to condense an eye, and use it to replace your own eye to observe the situation outside the sandball. Then he saw Sasuke looking at him leisurely from more than 10 meters away. After confirming Sasuke's position, Gaara immediately attacked. The sand spread slowly on the ground without attracting Sasuke's attention. During this period, Sasuke did not attack, but was observing, seeming to be thinking about how to start. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Gaara controlled the sand and came to Sasuke's feet. Got it. Gaara reached out her hand to shake it excitedly. Under his control, the sand climbed up Sasuke's legs, and kept rising until it enveloped Sasuke's entire body. Go to hell. Gaara roared with a ferocious expression. Sand waterfall funeral. The sand was instantly crushed into a ball. But no blood was shed. Gaara's ferocious expression was startled. Then I felt a strong threat coming from behind. Fire style extinguishing the fire. The huge fireball directly smashed the sandball into pieces, causing a strong explosion. Gaara was blown away like a powerless doll. The body is like a porcelain doll, with cracks everywhere. This is the defensive ninjutsu that Gaara has always prepared on her body, the armor of sand. Now, this sand armor directly shattered into large pieces under Sasuke's fire style. It can also be seen from this that there is a huge gap between the two sides. Gaara has yet to break the illusion cast by the curse. Still launching attacks into the air. In this case, without being able to capture Sasuke's true location, Gaara has no chance of winning. But it's clear that Gaara doesn't intend to give up. Gaara has never experienced such a frustrating battle. So much so that what was stronger than the pain was his anger that could not be concealed. Go to hell. Roar. Gaara let out a roar like a wild beast, and drastic changes occurred on his body. A large amount of sand came out of the body to form two thick monster-like arms. The face also became very strange, like a beast, with sharp teeth. You dare to push me to this point, I will definitely tear you into pieces. This time, Gaara found Sasuke accurately. Perhaps it was because the tailed beast's power surged within his body, dispelling Sasuke's genjutsu. Has the illusion been broken? It seems that I still haven't learned the essence. Sasuke shook his head in distress, and then looked at Gaara leisurely. What? Aren't you going to attack? Roar. Gaara let out a roar, and then violently threw out a monster arm. The monster's arms extend quickly, and the arms made of sand can be extended freely. In the blink of an eye, he landed in front of Sasuke. If you are hit by this huge arm, you will be seriously injured even if you don't die. At this moment, commotions continued to occur in the audience. Because of Gaara's unexpected situation, the audience who didn't know why was a little frightened. They don't understand why a good person can turn into a monster. At the top, Orochimaru's disguised fourth Kazekage turned to look at Namikaze Minato. Do you want me to stop it? Gaara's behavior has violated the rules of the game. Namikaze Minato said with a smile, it doesn't matter, I think Gaara player can still control himself. And even if he loses control, there won't be any accidents as long as I'm here. Orochimaru knew that Namikaze Minato had this ability. So I won't say more. After all, it is Sanagakure's tailed beast and has nothing to do with him, Orochimaru. Orochimaru's eyes turned to the other side, where third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen was also watching with concentration. It is also one of the goals of Orochimaru's plan this time. The so-called Konoha collapse plan is more about destroying Konoha and taking revenge on Sarutobi Hiruzen. Orochimaru never expected to become a Hokage in this way. For the position of Hokage, because he does not have much desire. However, wanting to kill Sarutobi Hiruzen in front of Namikaze Minato is obviously not an ordinary thing. At the very least, Orochimaru needs to wait for a perfect opportunity. Just a chance to distract Namikaze Minato. And this opportunity, Orochimaru knew, was coming soon. Wow, is this the tailed beast? Sasuke said with some admiration. But this is probably just a half-tailed beast. Only the upper body looks like a tailed beast, and the lower body is still your lower body. It looks a bit funny. Compared to the huge monster arms, Gaara's short legs indeed look very funny in comparison. But the furious Gaara didn't care what Sasuke was saying. Just frantically attacking Sasuke on a large scale. The roar continued, and a large amount of smoke and dust filled the air, quickly blocking the audience's vision. Such a violent battle made the audience tremble with fear, but also extremely excited. How could they normally have the opportunity to see such a wonderful battle? Even if they saw it, they didn't dare to get close, for fear that they would be affected. In that case, they don't even know when their Shouhei will be gone. But here, they can watch as much as they want without any danger to their lives. Let me ask, how could they not be excited? Unfortunately, the thick smoke obscured their sight, preventing them from seeing what was going on inside. Perhaps because of the effect of tailed beast transformation, Sasuke found that his genjutsu no longer worked on Gaara. But Sasuke didn't panic at all. After all, illusion is only one of the methods he is best at using, but it is not his entire strength. With Sharingan's excellent dynamic vision and Sasuke's keen skills, he was able to dodge Gaara's crazy attacks without any effort. Even if it is filled with smoke and dust, Sasuke can easily avoid it. In the end, Sasuke even used the smoke to hinder Gaara and directly created a few shadow clone in front of Gaara. The main body stood aside leisurely and watched Gaara's crazy fuss there. Perhaps Gaara's transformation into a tailed beast made Gaara not so clear-headed that he couldn't even distinguish Sasuke's shadow clone. Not to mention the location of Sasuke's body. Is this what happens if you can't control the tailed beast? It's really scary. Sasuke shook his head speechlessly, thinking that he would never let a tailed beast be sealed in his body in the future. Even if he wants to seal it, he still has to keep the tailed beast in uniform. Becoming a Jinchuriki is to improve your own strength, not to reduce your overall strength through this method. Although the current Gaara's attack power has been greatly improved, it shows many flaws due to its violent fighting style. By the time Lieutenant Commander assisted him, he had already had countless opportunities for sneak attacks. But Sasuke didn't do that. After all, this is the Chunin examination room, not a battlefield. He didn't want to be disqualified after killing his opponent. What should I do in this case? I feel like he's becoming more violent. Is there something wrong? Sasuke was rubbing his chin at the side. Until now, Gaara had not noticed that Sasuke's body was standing 10 meters away from her. Well, let's subdue this guy before he makes any more noise. If he were allowed to completely transform into a tailed beast here, I'm afraid it would cause great harm. Sasuke remembered, however, that not long after he was born, a mysterious man sneaked into Konoha and attacked the Nine Tails Jinchuriki at that time, releasing 9 tails to wreak havoc in the village. If a tailed beast appeared at this time, it would inevitably cause immeasurable damage on the playing field where a large number of people gathered. However, just when Sasuke was about to take action, Gaara became even more crazy. Gaara tried his best to eliminate every one of Sasuke's shadow clone. Watching the shadow clone turn into white smoke and disappear, not only did he not feel any pleasure, but he felt that he had been completely fooled. Especially when all the shadow clones in front of him were eliminated, Gaara went completely crazy. How dare you play tricks on me? I'm going to make you pay. In an instant, Gaara's body expanded rapidly, and a large amount of sand appeared, wrapping Gaara's body, rising upwards and finally turning into a huge body. Is this the tailed beast? Although Gaara has turned into a tailed beast, Sasuke is not worried. If it stops one, then it won't stop. Anyway, there are so many masters on the scene, even if Gaara wants to cause damage, there is no chance. However, when Sasuke was thinking this, he suddenly saw the tailed beast in front of him, as huge as a small mountain, suddenly disappear. There is no trace, the abruptness of the field division. So much so that Sasuke was stunned. What happened? But before he could think about it carefully, at the top of the auditorium, Orochimaru's disguised cage also made a noise. He attacked Sarutobi Hiruzen at a fast speed, knocked back the guards around Sarutobi Hiruzen, and then took Sarutobi Hiruzen hostage to a rooftop. Then, the 4 ninjas who had been ambushing here suddenly appeared and formed a 4 purple flame formation, wrapping the 2 of them in it. What the hell is going on? Compared to the slightly panicked situation in the audience, Sasuke was now a little confused. Because Orochimaru had not yet removed the cage's costume, Sasuke did not discover that the cage was Orochimaru himself. This also caused Sasuke to wonder why the cage was so crazy that he actually attacked the former Hokage in Konoha's territory. Aren't you afraid of being besieged and killed? Correct. What about 4th Hokage? Why can't I see 4th Hokage? A lot of doubts popped up in Sasuke's mind. This is, an Anbu teleported to Sasuke. The familiar feeling immediately let Sasuke know who it was. Brother, what's going on? Why did it suddenly become like this? Uchiha Itachi said calmly. You don't need to worry about this matter. The Chunin exam is over. Be prepared to deal with the enemy's attack. Remember, this is a real battle, don't be careless. Sasuke frowned slightly, he felt keenly that something was not simple. Wait. Why don't you seem surprised at all? Did you already know that this would happen? Uchiha Itachi did not answer, but changed the subject. Sasuke, go help those in need, the enemies are many. I don't know how they got in. After saying that, Uchiha Itachi left instantly. It was like an older brother who was worried about his younger brother was telling him to leave quickly. But in fact, it is definitely more than that. Sasuke frowned. He already heard what Uchiha Itachi meant. In other words, the Uchiha clan knew very well about this attack. Although, Sasuke knew before that Orochimaru's appearance would definitely do something to Konoha. But Sasuke didn't expect Orochimaru to play so big. They actually teamed up with Tsunagakure to attack Konoha. Sasuke left the venue and teleported to the auditorium. He saw that the audience had already fallen into the illusion and fell into a deep sleep. There were already many Konoha shinobi fighting with ninjas from other ninja villages around. They are all from Tsunagakure and Sound Ninja Village. At this time, seeing Sasuke appear, someone rushed towards him. But Sasuke knocked him down easily. This guy is not very resistant to illusions. With the illusion created by 3 Tomo Sharingan, he easily defeated a large number of people. This is too simple. Does Orochimaru intend to rely on these wastes to achieve his goals? But what is his purpose? To subvert Konoha? Isn't this completely impossible? Sasuke frowned, not understanding what Orochimaru's purpose was. Seeing that all the enemies here had been subdued, Sasuke turned his head and looked towards the top of the building. He had just seen Kazekage holding Sarutobi Hiruzen hostage, which made Sasuke a little concerned. Then, Sasuke was a little surprised to see the Kazekage take off his bamboo hat and reveal Orochimaru's face. This surprised Sasuke. Sasuke then discovered that the Kazekage was actually Orochimaru pretending to be. But where did the real Kazekage go? Not having time to think about anything else, Sasuke's attention fell on Orochimaru, with a strange look on his face. One of the new enemies took away another guy that Sasuke hated. This really puzzled Sasuke. What exactly is Orochimaru up to? Not only Sasuke, but others also had similar expressions. Orochimaru, you deliberately planned such a complicated plan just to kill this unpopular old man? Everyone stopped in perfect agreement, ready to see what Orochimaru wanted to do. However, seeing this scene, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but cursed in his heart. However, on the surface, Sarutobi Hiruzen still maintains a calm and confident look. As for this confidence, it's not that Sarutobi Hiruzen thinks he can beat his genius apprentice Orochimaru, but confidence in Namikaze Minato. No matter how powerful this barrier is, it cannot stand in the way of the flying thunder god who can travel through space. Orochimaru looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen's face and immediately guessed what he was thinking. Don't expect Minato to come and save you. He has to deal with One Tail's trouble now. Even if he finishes dealing with it, he won't be able to come in. You don't have the flying thunder god's curse mark on you, and there's even less on the ground I chose. No matter how magical Namikaze Minato's flying thunder god is, it can't appear in the barrier out of thin air. Just accept your fate, Sarutobi-sensei. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face suddenly turned ugly. What exactly do you want to do? Is it revenge for me driving you away? You did something wrong in the first place. Orochimaru sneered. But what I did was the acquiescence of the two of you. When the matter was revealed, the two of you just gave up on me, which I didn't expect. Stop talking nonsense and just struggle, Mr. Sarutobi. I have specially prepared a surprise for you. Sasuke watched the show from the sidelines. Looking left and right, he noticed that there was a circle of Jonin from Konoha around him. Only then did Sasuke realize that the sounds of fighting around him had become much quieter. In other words, the Sand Shinobi ninjas and the Sound Ninja Village ninjas under Orochimaru have been wiped out, and there is almost no effective resistance. The riot had just begun, but most of it had already been suppressed. Only Orochimaru is left within the barrier and the four people maintaining the barrier. Later, Sasuke saw Orochimaru fight with Sarutobi Hiruzen after talking for a few words. After the two sides exchanged a wave of tentative ninjutsu, the main course was quickly served. It also gives Orochimaru the confidence to carry out his plan. Orochimaru directly summoned two coffins. The coffin opened, and two people who looked very familiar to Sasuke came out. Along with the exclamations around him, Sasuke finally remembered who these two people were. It's actually first generation and second generation. Sasuke looked at the situation inside the barrier in surprise. This was much more exciting than he expected. At the same time, Sasuke is very much looking forward to what kind of strength the Senju brothers' first Hokage and second Hokage will show. At the beginning of the battle, under the control of Orochimaru, Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama used powerful ninjutsu to deal with Sarutobi Hiruzen. It was also the first time for Sasuke to see wood style, an escape technique unique to Senju Hashirama. However, what makes Sasuke feel a little disappointed is that the strength displayed by Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama does not seem to be very strong. At least in Sasuke's eyes, the two men's offensive did not bring him a sense of oppression. Have I become so strong? Sasuke couldn't help but become suspicious. But this suspicion was quickly broken by the sudden appearance of another person. No, it's the first generation and the second generation that have become weaker. If the two of them are in their prime, they should be able to instantly kill Sarutobi Hiruzen in his old age. Don't forget, the Valley of the End was not what it is now. It was because of the battle between Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama that the Valley of the End became what it is now. Uchiha Itachi suddenly appears wearing a mask. Sasuke nodded suddenly and said, "Let me just say, it feels really weird." Deidara. Looking at it this way, Sarutobi Hiruzen is quite miserable. He can't escape the fate of being killed by his apprentice. Grandma Chiyo. He deserves it. Although Danzo did most of the things, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who indulged Danzo, is also guilty. Terumi Mei. It can be said that these two people are the two cancers in the entire ninja world. Without them, the world will definitely become a better place. Kakuzu. Two stupid old guys, holding so many precious cards, but they beat them to pieces. Onoki. Indeed, if I were to do this, I would definitely make Iwagakure the strongest ninja village in the ninja world. Fourth Raikage. If you have the foundation of Konoha, wouldn't this kind of thing be possible in minutes? Scorpion. I can only say that these two people are too stupid, and they are also self-righteous, and they deserve to die. After a lot of struggle, Sarutobi Hiruzen still did not escape the fate of death. A clean death. Seeing that the main goal was achieved, Orochimaru immediately lifted the barrier and prepared to retreat. The ninjas of Konoha gave Orochimaru a symbolic chase, and then let Orochimaru leave. It wasn't until Sarutobi Hiruzen died that Namikaze Minato reappeared, holding the comatose Gaara in his hands. Apparently the tailed beast's rampage problem has been solved by Namikaze Minato. But what Namikaze Minato didn't expect was that Sarutobi Hiruzen died so neatly after he had only been away for such a short time. The next day, the funeral was held. Most of the whole village came to mourn. But this is also because Sarutobi Hiruzen was once a Hokage. Not many people have sad expressions on their faces, most of them have serious expressions. Then, after Namikaze Minato announced the lifetime achievement of Sarutobi Hiruzen times, everyone dispersed. A few more days passed. The village was peaceful and unaffected in any way. At this time, two uninvited guests came to the village. Kakashi, Yuhi Kurenai and Asuma met them, and after a brief confrontation, the two left. Kakashi was seriously traumatized and lay unconscious in bed. Sasuke was very surprised. Who could do this to Kakashi in Konoha village? When Naruto heard the news, he wanted to take revenge for Kakashi and wanted to run out of the hospital. But was stopped. Then Sasuke and others' team was temporarily assigned a leader Jonin. The name is Jiraiya, which is the same as the big snake. But in Sasuke's opinion, this person felt very unreliable. Deidara. Next, it should be the time when Uchiha Itachi and Inagaki Kisame go to Konoha, right? But Uchiha Itachi is still Anbu, so who will come over? Onoki. And the strange thing is that the only injured person is still Kakashi, which is also very intriguing, and it doesn't look like there is any external injury, but more of a mental trauma. Terumi Mei. Curiosity is aroused. Kakuzu. Maybe there are no new people added, or maybe some strong people from other ninja villages have been added, but you will know after reading on. Grandma Chio. Huh. You bunch of idiots, have you forgotten that someone has been playing missing? Hidan. Old woman, who are you talking about? Stop playing riddles here. Scorpion. Be respectful, young man. This is my grandma. Do you want to be made into a puppet? Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin. Even in the ninja world, he has a well-known name. But in the eyes of Sasuke and others, Jiraiya is really unreliable. He took them on missions, but most of the time he threw them aside and dealt with them himself. Then I chased a beautiful big sister and disappeared. It can be said that as soon as he sees a big sister who looks good, Jiraiya will immediately be unable to walk properly. It can be said that she is a color embryo to the core. And according to what Sasuke heard from Aike, the remaining Sannin was a gambling addict. Together, these three people are the XXX with whom I have no sworn relationship. Very complete. This time Jiraiya brought them to a small town near Konoha to get some information. But halfway through, as Sasuke expected, Jiraiya was attracted by a big sister who suddenly appeared. After sending the three of them to the hotel to practice on their own, they left without caring. There is absolutely no professional ethics of a seat ninja. He doesn't take the task seriously at all. The three of them were helpless. Only Jiraiya knew the connection information. They could only go back to the hotel to kill time. Sasuke had no choice but to sit on the bed in his room, close his eyes and practice spiritual practice. This is one of the methods Aike taught him. Continuously improve your illusion skills in the spiritual world, making your illusions increasingly difficult to detect. I don't know how much time has passed. Sasuke suddenly felt some movement outside. He frowned and opened his eyes, finding that the sound was coming from the corridor. Moreover, he could feel a very oppressive atmosphere outside. This couldn't help but cheer up Sasuke. He opened the wing door, took out the mirror and looked into the corridor. I saw two figures from behind, one wearing auspicious cloud black robes. Who are these two guys? What do they want with Naruto? Sasuke saw Naruto's surprised look and knew that Naruto probably didn't know these two people. And judging from the aura of these two people, they don't look like good people. So Sasuke opened the door decisively and said, "Who are you? What do you want from Naruto?" Kisame Kazaki turned his face slightly and immediately saw the Uchiha family fan on Sasuke's t-shirt and the forehead protector on his forehead. It turns out to be a brat from the Uchiha family. Shisui-kun, do you know him? Sasuke frowned. Shisui? He immediately looked at the other figure's back. At this time, the figure from behind also turned his head. Is it Sasuke? You look like you've grown up a lot. Sasuke looked at the familiar face in disbelief. He had seen it several times when he was a child, but what he always saw was a gentle smiling face. But what he saw now was an extremely cold face. Uchiha Shisui, you are still alive? I remember you were dead a long time ago. Sasuke took a stance and shouted to Naruto. Be careful, these two people are difficult to deal with. Naruto exclaimed in surprise. Is he really from the Uchiha clan? I was surprised just now that he has a Sharingan. Then, Naruto also took a stance. Are you really going to have a fight? Leave this shark-faced guy to me. He looked eager to try. But Sasuke poured cold water on him. Don't be delusional, if he is really Shisui, neither of us may be a match. Sasuke had heard from Ike that water has Mangekyo Sharingan. That's a Sharingan that's even more powerful than the three Magatama. Currently, in the entire clan, only Ike and his brother Uchiha Itachi have Mangekyo. It can be said to be very rare, and very powerful. Sasuke didn't dare to take risks casually, although he also wanted to have a real battle with Mangekyo. Shisui looked at Sasuke and said, "Get out of here quickly before I take action." "My goal is just Jinchuriki," Sasuke said with a solemn expression. "I can't let you succeed. Although I don't know why you are still alive, we still have the legendary 3. Wait a minute." Sasuke suddenly woke up. "It turns out that you arranged that woman on purpose. Just to lure Jiraiya away from us. It seems you know Jiraiya's strength very well." Hoshigaki Kisame said lazily. "I don't mind killing you all, but Shisui-kun suggested to play it safe, so I can only do it according to his method." Sasuke now knew how difficult their current situation was. But now they can only fight. The only thing Sasuke was thankful for was that little Sakura didn't come out. Sakura must have heard the noise outside. But little Sakura also knew that going out would only hinder her, so she endured not coming out of the room. Little Sakura's judgment is very accurate. "Let me see the difference between your eyes and mine," Sasuke said and immediately showed off his 3 Tomo Sharingan. Shisui seemed a little surprised. "Is it already 3 Magatama? It seems that your brother and Ike are very attentive to your teachings. It's a pity that these 2 pedantic guys haven't realized their situation yet. Sooner or later they will be buried under their own stupidity." Shisui's voice was extremely cold, as if he was not talking about his former friends, but 2 strangers. Sasuke's jaw tightened. He had heard his brother talk about the relationship between Jung Shui and his brother Itachi many times when he was a child. Ike also said that Shisui's death is a great regret for the Uchiha clan. Unexpectedly, Shisui not only survived, but also joined an inexplicable organization and prepared to snatch Jinchuriki. The bizarre twists and turns made it difficult for Sasuke to imagine what happened to Shisui to become like this. But now is not the time to be curious. How to escape from these 2 people is the most important thing. Stay out of the way. Shisui's eyes suddenly turned scarlet. And unlike Sasuke's 3 Magatama, Shisui's is shaped like a windmill. Looking into Shisui's eyes, Sasuke suddenly felt that his spirit became a little strange. He seemed to be wondering why he was confronting Shisui again. Obviously Shisui is a very good brother to him. But as soon as this strange feeling appeared, Sasuke realized something was wrong. He immediately looked away and said loudly, "Stop trying to interfere with my thinking. My brother told me about your eye skills." Shisui was exposed, but he didn't panic at all. "If you really listened carefully, you should know that if I want to, I can change your will at any time, and you have no power to resist. I advise you to stand still and don't move. Otherwise, I can only say sorry to Itachi." Naruto heard Sasuke shouting and immediately understood that this was telling him information. In other words, the person named Uchiha Water in front of him has the ability to change the will of others. It's simply terrible. Naruto didn't even dare to think about it. At the same time, he also understood why Sasuke wanted him to escape. Because the combat effectiveness between the 2 sides is not at the same level at all. Too much difference. There was no hesitation. Naruto directly used the sealing technique he learned from his mother, Uzumaki Kushina. Adamantine sealing chains. What? Chains suddenly appeared and tied Hoshigaki Kisame up. But Shisui ducked out of the way. This kid, of course he is capable of such a high-level seal. Kisame Kazaki struggled hard, but was completely unable to break free of the chains. Shisui appeared behind Naruto and said coldly, "He is the son of the 4th Hokage, and the wife of the 4th Hokage is from the Uzumaki clan." Kisame Kazaki understood immediately. "I see." Naruto was shocked. Shui, who had turned his back just now, actually dodged his attack. And the speed is really too fast. Before he could even see clearly, Shisui was already behind him. At this time, a cold palm pressed against his neck, making Naruto's body stiffen. "Do not move." Sasuke watched helplessly as Naruto was captured. "I told you to run away. Why didn't you listen?" Naruto said with a sad face. "How did I know he would be so fast?" Hoshigaki Kisame said proudly. He is a person known as Shunshin Shisui, and he has made great achievements on the battlefield. This is not someone you brats can handle. Deidara. What is Kisame Kazaki proud of? Isn't he tied up? He hasn't broken free yet. Onoki. Unexpectedly, Uchiha Itachi did not join the Akatsuki organization, but Shisui joined the Akatsuki organization. However, Ike and Uchiha Itachi should know about Shisui's fake death. Why does Sasuke look like he doesn't know? Kakashi. This shows that Shisui should be a spy arranged by Ike to join the Akatsuki organization, just like Itachi joined the Akatsuki organization in order to monitor the Akatsuki organization. Hidan. Why don't you Uchiha clan members have any good ideas about joining the Akatsuki organization? Kakuzu. This is normal, and we all have our own ideas when joining the Akatsuki organization. Terumi Mei. I don't know what Ike wants Shisui to do. Grandma Chio. It seems that both Sasuke and Naruto will be fine, because the water will definitely not bring Naruto back. Jiraiya. It's time for me to shine. Tsunade. You guy, if you don't change your shortcomings, something big will happen sooner or later. Orochimaru. I don't think so. Scorpion. What? Do you think Sasuke and Naruto can break the game? They are no match for Shisui now. Sasuke looked helpless. He really has no choice now. His illusions are still effective against those who are weaker than him or have low illusion resistance. But facing Shisui, who has Mangekyo Sharingan and distinguished heavenly gods, who is known as the most powerful genjutsu in his pupil technique, Sasuke will not think that his small technique can be effective against Masui even if he is arrogant. Seeing Naruto remove the adamantine ceiling chains under Shisui's coercion, and after Kisame regained his freedom, Sasuke knew that he was completely helpless. But at this critical moment, two figures suddenly appeared next to Naruto. Varied. Shisui's eyes widened in shock, and before he could finish his words, he was punched hard and sent flying. What happened? Iniki Kaki Kisame shouted in shock. The two people just appeared out of thin air, and he didn't notice anything unusual at all. There is only one explanation for this situation. That is time and space ninjutsu. Looking at that flash of yellow, Kisame Kazaki immediately knew who it was. The fourth Hokage, and the women of the Uzumaki clan, turned out to be the fourth-generation couple. This is going to be troublesome. Although Kisame Kazaki was smiling, his eyes were extremely serious. Is it you? How dare you do something to my child? Uzumaki Kushina was furious. If she hadn't deliberately left a little chakra in Naruto's body to sense Naruto's situation. Otherwise, she wouldn't even know that her son was taken away. Shisui. You're still alive. After knocking Shisui away with one punch, Namikaze Minato saw who he was knocking away. But this look surprised Namikaze Minato even more. Shisui's death was an open secret in Konoha. Why did it suddenly appear here? Long time no see, officer 4th generation. Shisui got up from the ground and said to Hoshigaki Kisame. Let's go, we won't be able to leave if we don't. Hoshigaki Kisame took out a few smoke bombs and threw them on the ground. Of course I know. Boom. Smoke quickly filled the air. But in a place where he couldn't see it, Kisame Kazaki was punched hard and flew away. If Inikaki Kisame hadn't noticed before being hit and used chakra to improve his defense, I'm afraid this blow would have been enough to cause him to lose most of his combat effectiveness. The perception abilities of the Uzumaki clan are indeed extraordinary. When the smoke cleared, Shisui and Hoshigaki Kisame were nowhere to be seen. All that was left was a mess in the corridor. Boom. At this time, the wall was broken open. Jiraiya burst in with a girl on his shoulders. Jiraiya-sama comes on and does it. Then, Jiraiya saw several pairs of helpless eyes looking at him. Suddenly, Jiraiya felt embarrassed and wanted to crawl into a crack in the ground, if there was a crack in the ground. The daylilies are already cold by the time you come. Sasuke couldn't help but roll his eyes. Uzumaki Kushina was less polite. He stepped forward and grabbed Jiraiya's ears. I gave my son to you to take care of, is this how you took care of me? And what's going on with this girl? Were you deceived by such a simple trap? The attack by the Akatsuki organization came to an end without any danger. However, for Sasuke, there were more doubts in his heart. Why did Shisui, who was supposed to be dead, suddenly appear? Since Shisui is not dead, do Ike and Uchiha Itachi, who told him about this in the first place, know anything else? Are they hiding something else? Or maybe they don't know that Shisui is seeking death. If they don't know about it, Sasuke must go back and report it immediately. Because the Mangekyo that Shisui possesses, the pupil technique is too overbearing. So, after completing the mission, Sasuke headed to the Uchiha tribe's land without stopping. At this time, it was getting late and the moon climbed up the branches. Seeing that there were no clan members guarding the gate of the clan, something bad flashed through Sasuke's heart. Even when there is a clan meeting in the clan, there will be guards at the door. But now, there is no one at the door. It is enough to show that something must have happened in the clan. This immediately made Sasuke anxious. He ran in quickly and immediately saw corpses all over the ground. Looking at those familiar faces, they all fell to the ground with frightened faces at this moment, with many deep bone scars visible on their bodies. It can be seen that the person who did it showed no hesitation or mercy at all. And all those who died were members of Uchiha's tribe. Sasuke didn't see any entities that didn't belong to the Uchiha clan. Neither people from Konoha nor people from other villages. This means that the attackers took away the bodies of their casualties, but this is obviously unlikely. After all, the Uchiha clan's territory is in Konoha village. If such a serious thing happens in the clan's territory, it is impossible for the people of Konoha to not notice it. Unless Konoha itself joins in, but this is even more unlikely. After all, in the past few years, after Uchiha took control of Danzo, he used his roots to completely reverse the reputation of the Uchiha clan in the village. The barrier between the Uchiha clan and the village has long since disappeared. So Konoha's top brass had no reason to deal with Uchiha. So, Sasuke was sure of one thing. That is, the attacker is very strong, so strong that he can ignore the difference in numbers. In an instant, Shui's cold face came into Sasuke's field of vision. This made him suddenly more anxious. Father, mother, brother, you must be okay. He walked quickly towards his home. Seeing many corpses along the way made Sasuke even more anxious. Racing quickly, the master quickly arrived at the door of his home. However, before he could step in, he saw a body lying at the door. Seeing the corpse, Sasuke's body trembled involuntarily. Hey, Aike. How is it possible? With Aike's strength, how is it possible? Sasuke couldn't believe that Aike, who he thought was invincible and strong, could die in front of him so simply. But no matter how many times he told himself, he could not refute that everything he saw before him was so real. Sasuke immediately thought that he was under a genjutsu. But he used the method of dispelling the illusion, but it had no effect. Aike's body was still in front of him. Sasuke could still see the surprised look on Aike's face. It seemed that I saw something very amazing. At this time, Uchiha Itachi's shout came from the courtyard. Run away, Sasuke. Escape quickly. Hearing his brother's voice, Sasuke's pupils suddenly narrowed. He didn't listen to his brother's words at all, but took a few steps forward to the door and looked into the yard. Then, he saw the cold face he had just seen today, inserting a ninja sword into Uchiha Itachi's chest. Puff. Uchiha Itachi spat out a mouthful of blood, his face turned gray, and he looked at Sasuke with anxious eyes. Hurry. Escape. Sasuke's mind went blank at this moment. He never imagined that things would turn out like this. If he ignored the mission and came back directly to convey the news that Shisui was still alive, wouldn't things have come to this point? However, there are no ifs or regrets in this world. Because of his one thought, all the people he valued now died in front of him. Ah! Sasuke roared in pain, and at this moment, his eyes also changed strangely. In extreme sadness, Sasuke finally broke through that layer of imprisonment and awakened Mangekyo Sharingan. It was after awakening Mangekyo Sharingan that Sasuke suddenly discovered that his vision was somewhat deviated. Before he had time to think about it, he heard applause and congratulations coming from his ears. Congratulations, Sasuke, well done. I didn't expect you to wake up earlier than me, Sasuke. I have long said that there will be no problem if you leave it to me, and this plan can be promoted and customized for every young tribesman. Indeed, we need to discuss this matter carefully, Aike. Dazed, Sasuke found himself surrounded by a circle of people, all of whom were very familiar faces to him. There is Aike who acts as a corpse at the door, Uchiha Itachi who was just killed, Shisui who took action, and his father who is always very serious. And his mother, Uchiha Mikoto, opened her hands in distress and held him in her arms. Don't worry, Sasuke, we're fine. This is all just false, an illusion created by Aike. Hearing that it was an illusion, Sasuke finally came to his senses. Illusion? But the scenes I saw were so real, and my use of breaking the curse was of no use at all. Ake folded his arms and said with a slight smile. If you could break my illusion by just breaking the spell, then my life would have been in vain all these years. Deidara appeared. Ake's ability to mass-produce Sharingan. Onoki. Fortunately, Ake was very restrained this time, but after such a successful experience, it is foreseeable that there will definitely be a large number of people who possess Mangekyo Sharingan in Uchiha in the future. Fourth Raikage. As I said before, the Honkai Po family is really unique. Kakuzu. In this case, the Uchiha clan will take off soon, so what should the fourth Hokage do? Should the Uchiha clan be allowed to develop like this? Scorpion. Are like last time, separate from Konoha and establish a country that belongs only to the Uchiha clan. Grandma Chiyo. I think it's unlikely. Ake's behavior this time is completely different from the last time he was with the Uchiha clan. Maybe he thinks he is strong enough, so he seems very capable. After several people's explanations, Sasuke finally understood that everything before was false. But even so, Sasuke still found it hard to believe. After all, the scene he saw was so real that there was no trace of illusion at all. Ake. How on earth did you do that? Sasuke couldn't figure it out, so he simply asked the instigator Ake directly. At the same time, he looked at Shisui with doubtful eyes. Shisui was smiling apologetically. That smile was exactly the same as what Sasuke remembered when he was a child. There was no indifference at all when I saw it during the day. Ake said with a smile. You should still remember what I said. The one about psychological suggestion. Sasuke nodded and said. You said so when you taught me. Could it be that you have hinted at me? Ake nodded and said. That's right, from the moment you noticed that there was no guard at the door, you immediately realized that something happened in the clan. Then when you see people lying on the ground, you subconsciously think they were killed. But as everyone knows, they are actually just sleeping. Sasuke frowned and shook his head. No. I clearly saw wounds on their bodies, and the smell of blood was very obvious. If they were just asleep, how do you explain the wounds and bloodline? Ake said with a smile. Explain what? Whether it's a wound or a bloodline, it's all based on your personal imagination. Because I gave you a hint in your mind, so when you thought it would be like this, what you saw with your eyes was what you thought it would be. Whether it's a wound or a bloodline, it's just something you think you have. Sasuke frowned and thought, feeling as if he had caught something, but he was extremely confused. Then, he pointed at Uchiha Itachi who was covering his chest. Then why is there a wound on Itachi's chest? Shouldn't that be just my imagination? At this time, Ake did not speak, but Shui said apologetically. I'm sorry. I have to do this in order to make the picture look realistic enough. But it doesn't matter. I have avoided the vital point. Itachi's wound is just a flesh wound. It will take a few days to heal. Uchiha Itachi nodded and looked at his mother apologetically. At this time, Uchiha Makoto was looking at his eldest son with a distressed face. The knife that penetrated his chest seemed to have been inserted into his own body. If possible, she didn't want to use this feeling to help Sasuke open the Sharingan. However, Itachi's body no longer allowed him to wait any longer. Because of the blood disease, Itachi wouldn't live for a few more years if he didn't find a solution as soon as possible. This is also the reason why it suddenly appeared in Konoha. Although, performing the tasks of the Akatsuki organization is the main reason. But using this to implement a long-planned plan is naturally understandable. Okay. Don't say any more about Tuyu. What matters now is you two. Ake clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention. Sasuke, what you need to do now is to master Mangekyo's power as soon as possible, and then arrange the surgery this morning. Operation. Sasuke looked at Ake in confusion. He didn't understand what the surgery meant at all. At this time, Makoto, who knew about it, told Sasuke about Uchiha Itachi. Although it is not revealed in front of others, Uchiha Itachi's body is already destroying its body functions due to blood disease. If the burden on his eyes is not relieved as soon as possible, Uchiha Itachi really doesn't have many years to live. After knowing this, Sasuke immediately said that he would have surgery now. However, it was undoubtedly rejected. After all, although Uchiha Itachi's injury was only a flesh wound and did not damage any internal organs, it still requires a certain amount of time to recover. Moreover, Uchiha Itachi is still able to survive now, and they have enough time to undergo eye-free surgery. Putting aside the matter of Uchiha Itachi, Sasuke looked at Shisui. Since Itachi's matter needs to wait, let's talk about it in a few days. But what happened to him? Didn't you tell me he was dead? And looking at it like this, you all know that he's not dead at all, right? Shisui said with a wry smile. All this for a mysterious man. One owner, Mangekyo Sharingan, claimed to be Uchiha Madara. In order to investigate his situation, I faked my death and left Konoha, and then infiltrated his organization to investigate his details. As for his true identity, although there are not many clues yet, what is certain is that he will definitely not be Uchiha Madara. Sasuke was confused. He never expected that the ancestor Uchiha Madara would be brought up here. Things are simple with Shisui. First, he faked his death to open Uchiha Itachi's eyes, and then infiltrated the Akatsuki organization to conduct investigation. This infiltration took several years, but in the past few years, Shui has not seen the king who calls himself Uchiha Madara several times. Therefore, there is no way to investigate Obito's identity. The only information collected was information about members of the Akatsuki organization. But we don't have much contact with each other, so we don't know very well. Shisui's current partner is Inagaki Kisame, a rebel nin from the Land of Water and one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Hoshigaki Kisame is also very powerful, and the chakra in his body is very large, so he is called a tailless beast. After a round of information exchange, Shisui had to leave. After all, there is only a shadow clone left with Hoshigaki Kisame. If he goes back too late, it will easily cause flaws. Although waiting patiently, Uchiha Itachi and Sasuke exchanged eyes before leaving. But unfortunately, he doesn't have that much time. After Shisui left, Sasuke suddenly remembered a question and looked at Ike. By the way, since Mangekyo is used too much, the chance of vision loss will decrease. Then Ike, don't you need to trade with someone else? Ike smiled, touched Sasuke's head and said, don't worry, I've already changed it. Sasuke frowned. Who is it? Who else has Mangekyo? Oh. Did you switch with Shisui? Ike nodded and said. Although Shisui and I are not brothers, our ancestors are Uchiha Kagami, the personal guard of the second Hokage. So, the success rate is not very rich. As for you, you are brothers, there is no need to worry about the success rate. Next, what you need to do is master the power of Mangekyo Sharingan as soon as possible. Only in this way can you help Itachi and help him get rid of the blood disease, do you understand? Sasuke nodded heavily. Don't worry, I will show you the body tomorrow. Deidara. Even Uchiha Itachi started Mangekyo when he was 13 or 14 years old, but Sasuke turned it on at the age of 12, several years earlier than his normal path. Onoki. After all, with Ike here, this speed is considered slow. Fourth Raikage. Last time Ike awakened most of the children in the tribe to Mangekyo, some of them were younger than Sasuke now. Kakashi. From this we can also see how angry the Uchiha clan was at that time. Namikaze Minato. Indeed, Uchiha Madara once said that awakening Mangekyo requires enough negative emotions accumulated in the heart, otherwise no matter how much sadness you experience, it will not help. Kakuzu. What about Obito's situation? He is usually a stupid and bad guy, but he only woke up twice because of the injuries and deaths of people around him. The accumulated in his heart should not be enough, right? Scorpion. Who knows? But when Obito awakened Mangekyo, the Kokuki was older than Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi now. Uchiha Madara. Obito is special. He is a target I specially selected because I can feel that he is stronger than other clan members in awakening Sharingan. Pain. So, you and Black Zetsu designed a series of plans to speed up his awakening of Mangekyo, right? Senju Tobarama. That's why I said that people of the Uchiha clan are born with character flaws. If they had found a way earlier like Ape that didn't require sacrifice, how could their characters become so twisted as they are now? Uchiha Fugaku. How could we have thought of this? The power of Mangekyo Sharingan was passed down from Madara-sama. Terumi Mei. All this has passed, so what's the point of discussing it now? The dead Uchiha tribesmen cannot be resurrected. After a few days of recovery, and after Uchiha Itachi recovered from his injury, Ike immediately arranged eye replacement surgery for Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi. The surgery was a success. Uchiha Itachi clearly felt that the burden that had been weighing on his body disappeared. The whole person became much more relaxed. My eyesight, which had declined due to excessive use of Mangekyo, has also been restored. And Sasuke, through this period of time, also became familiar with his Mangekyo eye technique. After he became proficient, Ike found him and took him out of the village to an inaccessible canyon in the Land of Fire. Ike, what did you bring me here to do? Is it special training? Sasuke looked excited, not worried at all whether Aike would cheat him. No wonder. After all, with Aike's strength, if Aike wants to cheat him, he basically has no ability to resist. Although after having Mangekyo, I already have strong resistance to Aike's illusions. But when facing Aike's Mangekyo eye technique, Kyoka Suigetsu, Sasuke still couldn't find Aike's whereabouts. This also resulted in Sasuke having no capital to fight Aike. Because he can't even find anyone from Aike, I called you here today to teach you a special ability. Aike said with a smile. When Sasuke heard this, he immediately became excited. I knew it. Teach me quickly. I can't wait. Aike still smiled and said slowly. Don't be so anxious. With your talent, you can learn it quickly. But, as long as you know how to do this trick, you don't need to spend extra time practicing it, because it is unnecessary, and it is also very heavy on the eyes. Sasuke was stunned and said, ability that doesn't require training, and it's also burdensome on the eyes? Could it be that Mangekyo has other abilities besides eye skills? Sasuke became even more excited when he thought about this. My own Mangekyo Sharingan is too strong, Aike said with a smile. Yes, but before that, I will show you again. You have to watch carefully. As he spoke, Aike's eyes changed into a unique shape. Sasuke stared at Aike without blinking. Later, he saw a large amount of chakra coming out of Aike's body, and could feel Aike using a lot of pupil power again. Among the large amount of chakra visible to the naked eye, a half-body skeleton slowly appeared. Sasuke opened his mouth wide and looked at the changes in front of him in shock. Aike explained this. This ability is called Susanoo. This is the first phase of it. Sasuke was even more shocked. This is just the first phase. How many stages are there in total? Aike smiled slightly and said, don't be in a hurry, take your time. As he spoke, tendons and muscles appeared on Susanoo's body, which only had bones, and it was also covered with skin, making it look no longer oozing, but more powerful. This is phase 2. Sasuke's mouth almost dislocated. This is so handsome. Aike continued to show. Susanoo put on a layer of armor and held a slender samurai sword in her hand, which was dozens of meters long. Sasuke couldn't even speak. Abba. Aike said. This is the 3rd stage, and after that, it will be the 4th stage. With that said, Aike floated up from the ground out of thin air. And his Susanoo also condensed the lower body at this time. Susanoo, who was already very powerful, can now stand up to a height of hundreds of meters. Sasuke raised his head and looked at Susanoo, who was like a giant, with only shock in his eyes. He never imagined that Mangekyo Sharingan actually contained such power. But just when Sasuke thought this was shocking enough, Aike's voice continued to reach his ears. After that, there is the complete body of Susanoo. Art. Isn't this over yet? Sasuke was in complete disbelief. Then under his gaze, Susanoo flew up. Yes. The behemoth Susanoo actually flew 1.3 meters into the air. On Susanoo's back, a pair of wings grew. With these wings, Susanoo flew to the Sky King. But soon, Aike released the perfect Susanoo. The whole person fell down lightly. How is it? How does it feel? So handsome. Sasuke's eyes were filled with stars. Susanoo's power simply exceeds his job description. Aike said with a smile. Handsome, isn't it? It's a pity that you can't use it now. You can only use it to the 3rd stage now, and you can't dispel it. After all, maintaining Susanoo requires a very large amount of chakra. I'm afraid your current amount of chakra can only last for more than 10 seconds in the 3rd stage. A basin of cold water dampened Sasuke's enthusiasm. Having just seen Aike's complete body, Susanoo, and now hearing that he can only maintain half-body Susanoo, how can Sasuke accept this? It's like being accustomed to eating good food and suddenly being asked to eat tree bark is simply unacceptable. However, Sasuke also knows that since Aike said this, it means that no matter how hard he works, he can only achieve what Aike said. However, Sasuke still asked unwillingly, then what should I do to maintain the full body of Susanoo? Aike said with a smile, in a few years. The amount of chakra is limited by your body's age and physical fitness. So next, you need to exercise your body more so that your body can extract more chakra. Sasuke was even more disappointed when he heard that it would take several years. But now that he has hope, Sasuke cannot give up. It's just a lot of chakra, I'll train it for you right away. Sasuke shouted, but in fact, he also knew that this was impossible. Because Tillion chakra requires a combination of mental energy and physical energy. Even if the physical energy increases, the total amount of mental energy remains unchanged, and he cannot increase the amount of chakra. Only races with special physiques, such as the Senju clan or the Uzumaki clan, who are born with the ability to refine a large amount of chakra, can easily maintain this ability to consume large amounts of electricity. Ake said at this time. Actually, there is another way for you to increase your chakra level. When Sasuke heard this, his eyes lit up. Any solution? Ake said with a smile. It's about being a Jinchuriki. After all, the amount of chakra a tailed beast has is said to be unlimited. Sasuke was excited, but quickly said hesitantly. But, how do I become a Jinchuriki? Haven't the tailed beasts been divided up by the Kidai ninja village now? Ake said with a smile. It's not possible now, but there will always be a chance in the future. Have you forgotten? Shisui said before that the Akatsuki organization he belongs to has been preparing to hunt tailed beasts. When the time comes, they will definitely attack Jinchuriki. If we can know their target in advance and snatch the Vice Admiral tailed beast from them. The more Sasuke listened, the brighter his eyes became. Ake, you are a genius. Quick. Contact Shisui quickly. Send them their latest action plan. Ake shook his head and said. It's not possible now. We can't contact Shisui at will. It's easy to expose Shisui's identity. Shisui may be in danger by then. When Sasuke heard this, his blood-heated head suddenly calmed down. Yes, Shisui's identity cannot be exposed. If something happens to him because of me, I will never forgive myself. Ake said with a smile. Okay, now let's try to use your Susanoo. After you use it, you will understand how much power you need. Let Susanoo continue to advance to the next stage, and your future path will be much clearer. Sasuke nodded repeatedly. Later, with the help of Ake, Sasuke successfully used Susanoo, although it is only the first stage. When Sasuke was about to proceed to the next stage, he was stopped by Ake. Today I'm just letting you get familiar with it, there's no need to be too refined. And there is no point in consuming your pupil power like this. After all, you have no opponent to fight now. As for Susanoo's power, after you use it, you should know what it can do. So there is no point in practicing. When Sasuke heard this, he found that this was indeed the case. After using Susanoo, Sasuke knew what it was and how to use it. Now that I heard Ake's words, even though I wanted to try, I was still very obedient and didn't do it. After all, as Ake said, there is no need to consume pupil power. Although he now possesses the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, he doesn't need to worry about using too much power and blinding himself. But if you can save some, there is no need to continue to waste it. So, the two of them returned the same way and returned to Konoha village. Back in the village, Sasuke heard that Naruto was back. This surprised him. After being attacked by Shisui and Inagaki Kisame a few days ago, Naruto was secretly trained by Jiraiya. Unexpectedly, within 2 weeks, Naruto would be back. More importantly, Naruto actually brought someone back. That is the last of the trio that Sasuke has yet to meet, the granddaughter of first Hokage Senju Hashirama, Tsunadeheim. Is that Tsunadeheim? She's really big. Sasuke couldn't help but feel a little emotional when he saw Tsunadeheim. No, when I think of those majestic chests, I feel itchy inside. Sasuke just sighed casually, but there was a pervert next to him who was responding to him, which immediately made Sasuke very dissatisfied. But soon Sasuke was shocked. The visitor came to him silently and did not let him notice. Even on a busy street, this sneaking ability is very surprising. What bothered Sasuke even more was that the voice sounded very familiar. It's like. Sasuke turned around and saw that his head was suddenly filled with black lines. Really? The person who appeared in front of Sasuke was Jiraiya with a squinting face. Naruto is indeed right, you shouldn't call Toad Sage, you should call it Pervy Sage. The corners of Jiraiya's mouth suddenly twitched. Don't mention that guy. Really, I took him to special training on purpose, but in the end he disliked this and that. Upon hearing this, Sasuke smiled slightly and said, Really? It seems that Naruto's strength has improved a lot. Jiraiya suddenly puffed up his chest. Of course. It doesn't matter who taught me. Sasuke nodded slightly, but in fact he was very disdainful. Naruto's father is the 4th Hokage, and his mother is also the Grand Master of various sealing techniques, Uzumaki Kushina. Where does he need a has-been Sannin to teach him? No wonder Naruto dislikes him in various ways, maybe because he feels that he can't learn anything good from Jiraiya. At this time, Sasuke saw a guy wearing green tights rushing over. It's Might Guy. At this moment, Might Guy stood in front of Tsunade, clasping his hands and lowering his head, pleading for something. But Tsunade looked troubled. Sasuke was confused, and Jiraiya sighed next to him. Sasuke asked curiously, "What's wrong?" Jiraiya glanced at Sasuke, thought about it and felt that this matter was not a big secret, so he said, "You should also know that Xiao Li was seriously injured." Sasuke understood. Sasuke looked at Might Guy's figure and felt that this man was a little pitiful at this time. He had also heard about Xiao Li's injuries and had gone to the hospital to see him. It was a comminuted fracture, and some of the broken bones were still stuck to the nerves. A little carelessness during treatment could cause Xiao Li to lose a leg. As a ninja, especially a ninja who specializes in physical skills, losing a leg basically means that Xiao Li has lost his qualifications as a ninja. Therefore, when he met one of the legendary Sannin, Tsunade Haim, who is known as the strongest medical ninja in the ninja world, Might Guy would plead in such a low voice. However, facing Might Guy's plea, Sasuke saw the distress on Tsunade Haim's face. The girl with short black hair on the side was also explaining something apologetically. Sasuke frowned slightly. Can't even Tsunade heal this injury? So it looks like Rock Lee is going to become an ordinary person? Sasuke thought about it, but felt that things were not simple. If it cannot be treated, there is no need for Might Guy to continue to struggle. So, there must be other reasons. What could that be? Sasuke became curious and moved closer, wanting to listen to their conversation. Jiraiya sighed at this time and said, "You noticed it too." Sasuke turned around, looked at Pervy Sage and said, "Notice anything?" Jiraiya looked at Tsunade-ji with a complicated expression and said, "Tsunade's face looks very unnatural. Actually, it's not that she can't provide treatment, it's that she has a mental disorder and can't perform surgery." Sasuke looked at Tsunade Haim in surprise. Unexpectedly, the most powerful medical ninja in the ninja world would have a mental disorder and be unable to perform surgery? Jiraiya said, "This time I took Naruto to find her. I actually hoped that Naruto's optimism and cheerfulness could help her resolve her knot, but unfortunately it didn't happen. She came here this time just because she had a fight with the old man's master and apprentice, and she just came to hang out for a long time." Sasuke asked thoughtfully now. "A psychological disorder? What kind of psychological disorder is it? Will her hands shake? Will she also say she sees hallucinations, or is it something more serious?" Jiraiya lowered his head in confusion, feeling that the way this Uchiha brat thought was a little unusual. Shouldn't normal people be curious about why Tsunade Haim has such psychological trauma? Why do you still ask about the specific pathogenesis? However, Jiraiya thought for a while and said, "It's hemophobia. It's not a symptom of dizziness, but a fear of blood. Well, maybe she lost too much on the battlefield, so many fresh lives slipped away from her hands, especially the death of that man. In short, she collapsed and couldn't accept the fact that she couldn't even save her beloved, so she chose to escape. She hasn't been able to see any fluid since then. Even if the blood is flowing out of her body, as long as she sees it, she will tremble with fear and her body will be out of control. In this state, she simply cannot complete any operation." Sasuke understood and smiled. "I see, maybe I can help solve it." Although it's only temporary, Jiraiya was confused. He looked down at Sasuke and said, "You don't think this is easy, do you?" Even Jiraiya, one of the mighty Sannin Toad Sage, hasn't found a solution. What can you, a little brat, do? Sasuke said with a smile, "It won't be a problem if you try, right? Does it mean that she doesn't even want to use common sense?" Jiraiya opened his mouth, scratched his head and said, "If you try, maybe you can, but can you tell me how?" Sasuke said with a smile, "Keep it secret." Deidara. Hemophobia? So Tsunade actually has this disease? Orochimaru. Ha ha ha, I have lost too much, so I am just escaping. I don't know if I am better now. Tsunade. After watching so many videos, I have already stopped watching them. Jiraiya. Really? That's great. Onoki. Just in time, go back to Konoha to take over the 5th Hokage and drive away the guy who is just fishing for fame. You don't like that old guy anyway, right? Kakashi. This is our internal matter in Konoha, so I won't bother Tsuchikage-sama to worry about it. 4th Raikage. What? Are you still planning to keep that bad old man? I'm afraid not many people will shed tears for him now that he's dead. Terumi Mei. It's not like in the video, there are still so many people who were deceived and paid tribute to him after his death. Kakuzu. Compared to Sarutobi Hiruzen, I am more curious about what Sasuke wants to do. Scorpion. Indeed, How do you plan to resolve Tsunade's psychological trauma? After repeated requests were rejected, Might Guy could only leave dejectedly. I thought Tsunade could save Xiao Li's precarious ninja career. Unexpectedly, what I got was a ruthless rejection. To this day, Might Guy doesn't know why Tsunade doesn't want to help. If it's money, as a jonin, he has a lot of savings. But obviously not. Might Guy's honest mind couldn't figure out why. At this time, a familiar voice came into his ears. I can help you. Might Guy suddenly looked up and realized that the person speaking was actually Sasuke. And Sasuke was not talking to him, but to Tsunade behind him. A slightly confused expression fell on Sasuke's smiling expression, not knowing what this Uchiha boy was planning to do. Tsunade frowned slightly when he saw Sasuke. You kid from the Uchiha clan? You said you could help me? Do you know what trouble I have? By the way, I heard that your Uchiha clan is very rich. I just need some investment. Can you inform your parents? Tsunade's eyes suddenly lit up, and he thought that Uchiha was a big family in Konoha and would certainly not be short of money. It just so happened that she was short of cash and needed some money to recover her previous losses. Shizune on the side shouted in embarrassment. Tsunade-sama. It seems that Tsunade's behavior is very embarrassing. It's really down. One of the dignified Sanin actually wanted to borrow money from a 12-year-old boy. Is this something a normal adult would say? Obviously not. And Sasuke doesn't intend to lend money to Tsunade, who is bound to lose every bet. I'm sorry. I can't make the decision in this matter. I'm talking about something else, something very important to you. Sasuke said with a smile. Tsunade frowned, looking at Sasuke's smiling face. He always felt that this person was a little uneasy and well-intentioned. Tsunade saw Sasuke followed by the laughing Jiraiya, and immediately glared at him angrily. What did you say to this brat? What did he want to do? Jiraiya smiled sarcastically, and before he could answer, Sasuke said with a smile. Naturally, it's something you can't do surgery on. In public, Sasuke openly told what Tsunade was avoiding. Tsunade's pupils suddenly narrowed, and he subconsciously clenched his right fist. In an instant, his right fist, which contained a strange power that could break boulders, stopped above Sasuke's forehead. Kid, there are some things you shouldn't say nonsense. Tsunade's expression was probably scary. But Sasuke still kept his smile, without wavering or evading at all. Jiraiya was taken aback. He knew how terrifying Tsunade's strange power was. Even if he was punched unprepared, he would probably have to stay in the hospital for several days. Fortunately, Tsunade stopped at the last moment. Might Guy on the side became even more confused. What? Tsunade-sama can't do the surgery. Is something wrong? Is there something wrong with your body? But you look very healthy? Might Guy is puzzled. The people around him began to talk about it. What are the kids talking about? How could Tsunade-sama not be able to perform the surgery? That's right. Tsunade-sama is the strongest medical ninja in Konoha and even the entire ninja world. Simple surgeries are certainly not a problem. Hey, he is Uchiha Sasuke, the genius boy of the Uchiha clan. He must have seen something. Isn't it possible? No matter how powerful he is just a child. He is still just genin. Why should he help Master Tsunade? The surrounding sounds reached his ears, making Tsunade feel very harsh. She grabbed Sasuke by the collar and left quickly. Tsunade-sama, wait for me. Shizune quickly followed. Jiraiya scratched his head and followed. Might Guy didn't know why, but he thought this might be an opportunity to rescue his beloved disciple Xiao Li, so he followed him. The few people moved very quickly and soon arrived in a deserted alley. Boom. You brat. What on earth are you talking about? Tsunade's expression was very ugly, and then he suddenly looked at Jiraiya. And you? How dare you talk nonsense? Can you talk to children about this kind of thing? Jiraiya said with an embarrassed smile. I don't think it's anything. Wait. I was wrong. Seeing Tsunade's eyes become dangerous, Jiraiya quickly admitted his mistake, then pointed at Sasuke, who stood up from the ground and said. By the way, this kid said there is a way to cure your hemophobia. Tsunade's attention was immediately diverted. Facing Tsunade's oppressive gaze, Sasuke showed no fear at all. He raised his head and said with a smile. I can't guarantee it, but there's absolutely no danger, so why not give it a try? Tsunade's eyes fluctuated for a moment, but then he became firm. HMPH. Why should I try? What does it matter if I can't have surgery? Anyway, this world doesn't lack a medical ninja like me. Snapped. Might Guy suddenly knelt down and hit his head on the ground. Tsunade-sama, please save my apprentice. Although he is very clumsy, he is a very hard-working person. As his master, I can't accept that his dream has been shattered. Please help me, Tsunade-sama. Tsunade's face suddenly turned ugly. She hated this kind of forcing her. However, she also knew very well that Might Guy was not the kind of person who used morals to kidnap others. Therefore, she knew that being able to make Might Guy kneel down meant that this matter was very important to Might Guy. However, she now has too much fear of blood. It's simply impossible to face it normally. Just seeing a little bit of it will make your body involuntarily fall into fear. It was as if I had returned to that night, the night I lost Kato Dan. He looked at the helpless knight when his hands were covered with his blood and he couldn't save him. Tsunade closed his eyes suddenly. Jiraiya said in a deep voice at this time. The past is in the past. Do you still want to dwell on the past? Or are you still not going to let yourself go? Tsunade frowned, then slowly raised his head. Her face was expressionless and indifferent. Beside her, Shizune looked at her worriedly, not knowing what to say. Jiraiya changed his usual humorous style and looked at Tsunade with a solemn expression. Sasuke, on the other hand, seemed not to feel the solemn atmosphere around him, still smiling. It was as if he was not the cause of the current situation. Tsunade looked at Sasuke and said coldly, "Kid, if the method you mentioned doesn't work, then just wait and pay me 5 million taels. If you don't have it, I will go get it myself from your parents." Sasuke spread his hands and said, "Of course I have no money, so if it fails, Tsunade-sama, just go find my father." Tsunade snorted and said, "No more nonsense, what is your solution?" Sasuke smiled slightly and said, "A very simple method is psychological suggestion." Psychological suggestion? Tsunade frowned. As a medical ninja, she naturally knows the meaning of psychological suggestion. But she couldn't understand Sasuke's reason for bringing up this situation at this time. What exactly do you want to say? Don't be too pretentious and make it clear one day at a time. Sasuke said with a smile. It's simple. Tsunade-sama will panic when he sees red blood. In that case, wouldn't it be fine as long as the blood flowing out of the blood vessels is not red? In this way, you will not mistake what you see as blood, and naturally it will not cause hemophobia. Jiraiya looked blank, and then said with a sudden hammer. So there is still such a way. However, Tsunade rolled his eyes and said. Fantasy kid, this is impossible to do. My ideology has long been fixed, and it is impossible to change this common sense. And how are you going to do that? Things like psychological suggestion cannot be achieved just by talking about it. Sasuke said with a smile. It may be difficult for others, and it may take months or even years to repeat. But for me, it doesn't need to be that troublesome. You just have to look me in the eyes. Saying that, Sasuke revealed the 3 Magatama Sharingan. Tsunade looked at Sasuke slightly surprised. You actually awakened the 3 Magatama, not many people at your age can do it. Tsunade was surprised that Sasuke had 3 Magatama at such a young age, but he also guessed what Sasuke wanted to do. So he said sarcastically, do you want to use illusions? It's useless. Although you have 3 Tomo Sharingan, it is basically impossible to use illusions on me who am prepared. Even if I don't take precautions, you can't plant psychological hints in my heart. Sasuke smiled slightly, and the 3 Tomo Sharingan in his eyes suddenly changed again. What if that's the case, is it okay? Tsunade's eyes widened in shock. Shizune on the side also covered his mouth, covering the screams he was about to cry out. Jiraiya was the only one who looked at Sasuke's back and wondered why Tsunade was so surprised. Tsunade never thought that 3 Tomo Sharingan would have further changes. After all, she had never seen it before. But at this time, she seemed to have heard her grandfather and second grandfather talk about similar things in her distant memory. But she was still young at that time and didn't remember much at all. It is said that he and his grandfather founded the Uchiha class in Konoha and have a pair of special eyes. He is indeed a genius of the Uchiha clan, which really surprised me. Tsunade looked solemn. It was said that only Uchiha Madara had eyes, but now this junior of the Uchiha clan had them, which was enough to shock Tsunade. At the same time, I also understood the source of Sasuke's confidence. Tsunade-sama, all you need to do is look into my eyes. You may feel a little dazed next, but it doesn't matter, you will be fine soon. Sasuke's voice seemed to have a hint of magic, and Tsunade's eyes quickly became trance-like. This process lasted about a minute. Tsunade's eyes gradually became clearer. Okay. Yin Sha. Sasuke said with a smile. By this time his eyes had changed back. Tsunade frowned slightly, felt his own state, and found that he didn't feel like he was under any illusion, so he couldn't help but say. Did I fail? Why don't I feel anything? When Might Guy heard this, he quickly raised his head. Is his method of placing his last hope going to fail like this? Sasuke said with a smile. Don't worry. With that said, he turned around and came to Jiraiya, raised his head and smiled at Jiraiya. Please bear with me, pervy sage. How can I endure? Ah. Jiraiya looked at Sasuke in confusion, and then saw Sasuke quickly swipe his arm with a kunai. Suddenly, a medium-deep wound appeared, and blood flowed out of the wound quickly. Jiraiya was caught off guard and let out a scream. Tsunade's body trembled, and then he subconsciously turned his gaze away. She was afraid of seeing blood and showing her weakness in front of everyone. Shizune also screamed and looked at Jiraiya's bloody arm. Sasuke lifted Jiraiya's bleeding arm and said with a smile. Just take a look, Tsunade-sama. You will find that the world in your eyes is very different. Tsunade shook his head decisively. No. I can't see blood. Sasuke said with a smile. This is not blood, this is clearly milk. Tsunade-sama, take a look. Jiraiya looked at Sasuke with a strange expression on his face, wondering what nonsense this kid was talking about. I shed an arm full of blood, but it turned into milk when it reached Sasuke's mouth? But when he looked at it with that eye, there was dark red blood. Tsunade opened his eyes and saw Might Guy kneeling on the ground, raising his head and looking at him beseechingly. So, she frowned slightly, and then took a deep breath. Take a look, just take a look. Just take a look and it'll be fine. As she said that, she turned her head quickly, glanced at it, and then quickly turned back. Etc. Tsunade's eyes widened. In that sudden glimpse, what she saw didn't seem to be red. Without enough time to think about it, Tsunade turned his head back suddenly. Then she was shocked. The dark red blood in other people's eyes turned into white milk in her eyes. If she hadn't been able to smell blood, she might have mistaken what she saw in front of her as milk. The most important thing is that she knew clearly that what she saw was blood, but because what she saw was different from the blood in her impression, she didn't show any panic reaction at all. That is to say, Sasuke succeeded. Deidara. I actually asked him to do it. I didn't expect Sharingan to be able to do such a thing. Uchiha Madara. It's not that Sharingan can do it, but Aike did it and taught the method to Sasuke. Onoki. Psychological suggestion is a really terrifying ability. It can completely change everything you see with your eyes. This means that even if you see it with your own eyes, you can no longer trust it. Kakuzu. If this ability becomes widespread, all information will lose value because no one can prove its authenticity. Grandma Chio. I can only say that Aike has developed another terrifying ability, an ability that displays illusions to the fullest. It's really terrifying. Pain. Perhaps, this is also a way to peace. As long as people's psychology is changed, people can eliminate their negative emotions, and war will no longer occur. Scorpion. Maybe, but will Aike do it? Maybe Aike has the idea of changing the world, but I think it is definitely not borrowing this kind of psychological suggestion, otherwise he would have done it long ago. Kakashi. Maybe it's because the comparison is with Sasuke. This video is more about telling us how Sasuke will change under the influence of Aike. In any case, the Sasuke I imagined has changed a lot. Sasuke. Am I able to drive Mangekyo at this age? Damn it, why can't I do it now? Shikamaru. Maybe it's because of the lack of stimulation. After all, every time I see an Uchiha open her eyes, it requires a lot of stimulation. Senju Tobirama. Perhaps, this is also your greatest sorrow, because you have already seen the process of opening your eyes. You watched these videos and followed them through the video, but you did not have any reaction. This may mean that, it will be difficult for you to open your eyes in the future. Hoshigaki Kisame. Indeed, if you are mentally prepared to experience those things, you will definitely doubt whether it is an illusion, which will lead to insufficient stimulation. Terumi Mei. Maybe this is why, when Aike opens Mangekyo to Sasuke, Uchiha Itachi needs to be really injured, because Aike has already used illusions to enable Sasuke to open the 3 Magatama. Luo Shaw. What you said makes sense. Talent. Tsunade's anemia problem has been temporarily solved, but it is not yet confirmed that Tsunade can survive the long operation. So after a period of recovery, that is, after some minor surgeries, Xiao Li's surgery was started in full swing. After all, Xiao Li's injury was too serious, and continuing to delay it would only increase the risk of surgical failure. Moreover, even Tsunade was not very sure about Xiao Li's injury. But now that Sasuke had helped her solve the most troublesome problem, she couldn't do anything next. Finally, after 10 hours of long surgery, Might Guy, who had been waiting outside the operating room, received the good news. The operation was successful, but he needs at least a month of training. During this period, if he practices without permission, there is a great possibility that the injury will recur. If it relapses, even I won't be able to succeed. Do you understand that is in vain? Might Guy looked tense and nodded. Yes, I understand. Tsunade smiled and said. Okay, he hasn't worn off the anesthesia yet. You wait here for the nurse to push him out and send him to the ward. Remember, don't let him move around casually, do you understand? Might Guy burst into tears and nodded repeatedly. Thank you so much. I Might Guy was so excited that he didn't know what to say. Tsunade rolled his eyes and said. If you want to say thank you, just say it to that brat Uchiha. If it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't have been able to do this surgery. Might Guy turned around and grabbed Sasuke's hands. That's right. If it weren't for you, Xiao Li would definitely have to say goodbye to ninja student. You are simply Xiao Li's savior, both you and Tsunade-sama. Sasuke said with a smile. I'm just testing the success of my cultivation, and I'm very happy to be able to help Xiao Li. Relax, since Tsunade-sama said the operation was successful, then don't worry anymore. Take a good rest and follow Master Tsunade's medical advice. I believe that a healthy Xiao Li will appear in front of us again in a month. Tears kept flowing from Might Guy's eyes. Yes, you were right. In just 1 month, healthy Xiao Li will appear in front of me. No. I want to tell everyone the good news. With that said, he ran out without caring. Tsunade covered his forehead speechlessly and shook his head. I used to feel that this kid was irritable, but I didn't expect that he is still like this now. However, he can be so considerate of Xiao Li, and seeing Xiao Li is also a very special existence for him. Sasuke said with a smile. Although they are not father and son, the relationship between the two of them is probably fat. Tsunade's eyes became dazed. No, they are stronger than a real father and son. There is no affection at all between some fathers and sons. You are too young now. When you grow up, you will know. Shaking his head to get rid of the images he had seen from his mind, Tsunade pinched his waist and looked at Sasuke angrily. Now that the operation is over, why are you still here? Sasuke said in surprise. At that time, the psychological suggestion was removed. Tsunade was stunned for a moment, then took his hand and said. You don't have to worry about it. I feel pretty good now. In this way, if you are short of money in the future, you can also ask for money by performing operations on others, especially those nobles and wealthy businessmen. After thinking that he could use medical ninjutsu to earn startup funds, Tsunade didn't want to give up this psychological suggestion. Sasuke shook his head and said, no, this psychological suggestion must be lifted. Tsunade frowned. Why? I feel good now. There's absolutely nothing unusual about it. Sasuke said with a smile. Maybe not now, but when it does happen, it won't be good. For example, if I take out a glass of milk and tell you that it is fresh milk, will you drink it? Upon hearing this, Tsunade said indifferently. Are you worried that I won't be able to distinguish the blood from milk? In the worst case, can't I just stop drinking milk from now on? Sasuke smiled helplessly and continued. Maybe this is just a small trouble, but the real big trouble is another problem. My psychological suggestion is not permanent. The smile on Tsunade's face faltered. What does this sentence mean? Tsunade thought instantly. And I also thought about some of the terrible things I might experience when this psychological suggestion disappears. For example, when she was about to perform an operation on a noble or wealthy businessman, the psychological suggestion effect suddenly disappeared. The milk in front of me suddenly turned into blood. She might just go crazy. She felt herself shudder at the thought of this possibility. Sasuke said with a smile. It seems that Tsunade-sama has also thought of a terrible possibility. So, are you really sure you don't need me to lift it now? Tsunade's expression suddenly became complicated. Deidara. Darling, is this Sasuke? Why do I feel like Naruto? Onoki. No, it's a lot different from Naruto's mouth dodge, such as style and so on. Naruto doesn't know how to speak in a threatening way. Senju Tobirama. Although it is threatening, it is also kind to persuade, but it does feel like Naruto is running away. Kakuzu. Yes, but not many. Pain, indeed. Sasuke saw Tsunade struggling and continued with a smile. I have made the consequences clear. The choice is in Tsunade-sama's hands. But, as a junior, I feel it is necessary for me to say a few words. Tsunade's attention was drawn. It's just you. You just graduated from ninja school, right? You haven't experienced anything. How can you understand how I feel? Sasuke shook his head and said, I don't understand how Tsunade-sama feels. But I can tell you how I feel. As for whether you are willing to listen or not, that is your business, Tsunade-sama. After a pause, seeing that Tsunade didn't speak, Sasuke continued. Remembering the past is something we cannot forget. Because there are many things in the past worth remembering. Beautiful memories such as honors, achievements, and brilliance, as well as painful memories such as pain, loss, and hatred, should not be forgotten. Keeping them in mind can give us more courage to move forward. Only by facing these head-on can we grow stronger. Instead of being defeated by these blows and becoming a pitiful loser who can only gain sympathy from others, but can never become a strong man. Sasuke didn't care whether Tsunade listened or not. After finishing speaking, the psychological suggestion to Tsunade was lifted. Tsunade becomes that person who gets dizzy when he sees blood again. But this point has nothing to do with Sasuke. The next day, Sasuke heard that Tsunade planned to stay and stayed in the hospital. It seems that he intends to completely cure his hemophobia. It seems like he listened. Sasuke smiled slightly and didn't care. In the end, Tsunade didn't have much interaction with him. What's more, Tsunade is from the Senju clan, the archenemy of the Uchiha clan. If a group of old diehards in the clan heard that Sasuke actually helped Tsunade, they would probably bring Sasuke to the clan association and give him a hard time. Although Sasuke didn't care, and Ike and Uchiha Itachi wouldn't let this happen. After all, these elders in the clan no longer have much right to speak. The power of the clan is now in the hands of Ike and Sasuke's father, Uchiha Fugaku. Have you met Tsunade-sama? How does it feel? Ike asked with a smile. Sasuke was sitting cross-legged on a boulder, closing his eyes and concentrating on practicing. Hearing Ike's voice, he opened his eyes and said, She is very strong, but she has a fatal weakness, but she should be overcoming it now. Ike said with a smile, Who said that? As he spoke, Ike put his hand on his chest to cushion it, as if he was dragging a heavy thing. That's what I'm talking about, isn't it great? Sasuke's cheeks suddenly turned red, but he asked curiously. By the way, Ike, you are almost 20 now, don't you have any plans? Ike said with a smile. You don't have to worry about my affairs, just worry about yourself. Is there any girl you like? Sasuke shook his head decisively. No, they are all too young. Ike said suddenly. Oh, I see, Sasuke, you really like big ones. Then it seems that you like Tsunade-sama very much, after all, you have helped her so much. Sasuke's face turned red and he said angrily. Nonsense. When did I say I like big ones? I just don't want to think about it right now. Ike shook his head and left with a teasing expression. Before leaving, he left something that made Sasuke furious. I know, I won't tell anyone your little secret. Sasuke blushed and looked at Ike's back, shouting in grief and anger. I don't like big ones. Deidara. He had a fake smile in front of others, but he broke through his defense so easily in front of Ike. It seems that Sasuke still has some practice. Tsunade. I didn't expect to be disliked by this brat. It seems that my charm has also weakened. By the way, who will be Ike's wife this time? Kakashi. People who are around the same age as Ike now include Yuhi Kurenai, Anko, and I don't know if there are any in the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Madara. Humph, the Uchiha clan is still here. Why would Ike choose someone from outside the village? After all, he has to protect his pure bloodline. Orochimaru. Intermarriage within the clan can ensure the purity of the bloodline, but does it really help the awakening of the bloodline? In my opinion, marrying other clans may have unexpected results. Scorpion. This matter needs to be studied, it is a good topic. After following Jiraiya on a few more missions, things should change. Because of the attack by the Akatsuki organization, the people of Konoha had to pay attention. Then, Sasuke received the news. So, is this pervy sage going to practice? Sasuke looked at Naruto with a smile. Well, I hope you can learn something useful. Jiraiya looked at Sasuke, the corners of his mouth twitching wildly. You little brat, you are really good at talking. Naruto said with a smile. Don't worry, I will surpass you soon. Sasuke was still smiling. I'm looking forward to it, even though it's impossible. Little Sakura said worriedly. Do we really have to leave? Wouldn't it be safer to stay in Konoha? Next to him, Uzumaki Kushina patted little Sakura's little head and said. Although I can't bear to let Naruto leave, there's nothing I can do about it. After all, if Naruto stays in Konoha, the enemy will definitely continue to come. The two dangerous rebellious ninjas from last time will appear again, which is likely to cause irreparable harm to Konoha. So, although I am reluctant to give up, as a mother, I can only be cruel. Namikaze Minato put her arm around Uzumaki Kushina's shoulders. Don't worry. Even though Jiraiya-sama was eaten last time, he is still very strong and will definitely protect Naruto. Besides, it's time for Naruto to grow up. When he is this age, we have already. Namikaze Minato didn't finish his words, but he knew that Uzumaki Kushina understood what he meant. Uzumaki Kushina nodded, looked at Naruto and said. Naruto, you must take care of yourself, you know? Don't always cause trouble for Jiraiya-sama, and be obedient. Naruto gave a thumbs up and said with a smile. Don't worry, Mom. I will definitely become an excellent ninja. Namikaze Minato said with a smile. We believe you can do it. After that, Naruto left with Jiraiya. Sasuke smiled and looked up at Namikaze Minato. Hokage-sama, you actually did something to Naruto, right? Just like last time, once Naruto is in danger, you will suddenly appear next to him? Namikaze Minato immediately said with a smile. Of course, otherwise, how could I, as a father, worry about my children traveling far away? Little Sakura looked at Namikaze Minato in surprise. She hadn't thought of this at all just now. Feelings Namikaze Minato can go see Naruto anytime he wants? This is not a difference at all. Little Sakura felt like her feelings were completely wasted. Sasuke smiled, turned around and walked towards the clan. Naruto, that guy has to work hard to practice, and I can't relax either. If I really can't compare to him when he comes back, then I'll give him away. Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina looked at each other, and Namikaze Minato said with a smile. Naruto is really lucky to have such an opponent. Uzumaki Kushina nodded, and then said with some regret. It would be great if Sasuke was a girl. It just so happens that he is Makoto's child. When they grow up, maybe they can. Namikaze Minato suddenly looked at his wife funny. What are you thinking about? Sasuke is a member of Uchiha. For the sake of Uchiha's bloodline, Sasuke will definitely marry someone from the clan. Little Sakura listened with confusion in her head and couldn't help but say. I'm the one who's going to marry Sasuke. Hearing what little Sakura said, Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina lowered their heads in surprise. Seeing how angry little Sakura was, Uzumaki Kushina couldn't help but say. Don't you little Sakura like my Naruto? Little Sakura hesitated. Naruto is also very reliable, but Sasuke is better than Naruto. Uzumaki Kushina burst into laughter. Although she thinks her child is very handsome, compared to Uchiha, it is indeed a bit worse. After all, people from the Uchiha clan really have a natural advantage in appearance. It's just the trend of some spirited guys. Okay, but you are still young now. When you grow up, you will know that appearance does not determine everything. Uzumaki Kushina didn't make any excuses, even though little Sakura was just a child in her eyes. Sasuke returned home and continued his spiritual practice. But as soon as he came to the boulder where he usually practiced, Aike came. Stop practicing. Aike waved to Sasuke. Sasuke asked with a confused look on his face. What's wrong? What happened? Aike said with a smile. No, I just think you should change your practice method now. Sasuke looked at Aike in confusion, waiting for his next words. Aike said with a smile. You should remember about chakra refining, right? Sasuke nodded. Know that the power produced by combining mental energy with physical energy is chakra. Aike nodded. Now, because of Mangekyo Sharingan, your mental energy has far exceeded that of your peers. Even some Jonin cannot reach your current level. But in terms of physical fitness, you are only at the level of a Chunin at best. So, it's time for you to train your body. Sasuke was stunned and asked. How should I practice? Aike said with a smile. I can recommend a good teacher to you. Sasuke's face suddenly filled with anticipation. Then the next day. Sasuke's mouth twitched as he looked at the watermelon head in front of him, and the smile he had maintained in front of outsiders completely collapsed. This is the taijutsu teacher you found, Aike? Sasuke gritted his teeth and said this. Aike said with a smile. In terms of taijutsu ability alone, Might Guy Senpai is currently the strongest taijutsu ninja in Konoha. With his guidance, you will definitely be able to make rapid progress in a short period of time. Then, Ake said to Might Guy. That's it, Sasuke is leaving it to you during this time, Guy Senpai. Might Guy gestured with a thumb, revealing his flawless and shining teeth. Don't worry, leave it to me. I will do my best to teach Sasuke-kun. Without Sasuke-kun's help, Shaoli would not have been able to successfully operate and still have the hope of becoming a ninja. Ake said with a smile. In that case, I'm leaving. Sasuke looked speechlessly at Ake, who disappeared in an instant. Only then did he realize that Ake had never come over at all. What he had always seen was just the phantom created by Ake. Although Sasuke didn't observe carefully, Ake's illusions were becoming more and more terrifying to the extent that he was able to deceive him now. Okay. Let me check your body muscles first. Come on. Punch me with all your strength. Might Guy waved to Sasuke. Sasuke curled his lips, and then hit Might Guy on the head with his own power without using any eye power. Snapped. Sasuke's fist was caught easily. This is also to be expected. Without the use of illusions to mislead, it is basically impossible for Sasuke to defeat Might Guy in physical skills. Ake said that Might Guy is the strongest taijutsu ninja in Konoha, and he was absolutely right. I see. As the strongest taijutsu ninja in Konoha, Might Guy clearly understood Sasuke's muscle condition at this time through this punch. He released Sasuke's fist and said, it seems necessary to start from the very basics. Sasuke frowned. Base? He didn't expect that with his current physical fitness, he would start from the basics. This put Sasuke in a bad mood. Might Guy didn't care about Sasuke's feelings, he said with a hearty smile. That's right. Don't underestimate the basics. The most important thing in physical skills is the foundation. Only by laying a good foundation can you continue to climb upwards. So, let's run 500 times around the village first. If you don't finish it within 3 hours, then jump to the main temple circle. Sasuke's eyes suddenly widened. What did you say? How can this be called basic? This is simply not something humans can do. Even for a ninja with chakra and amazing physical strength, Sasuke couldn't help but widen his eyes when faced with this huge amount of exercise. Only then did Sasuke understand what was going on with Shaoli's teleportation speed when he faced Gaara. This is how Ganqing is trained. However, Sasuke had no choice but to refuse. After Might Guy made the announcement, he took the lead and rushed out. Very fast. Sasuke had no choice but to follow. Finally, after 2.5 hours, Sasuke finished the 500 laps out of breath. Might Guy nodded and said, the warm-up exercise is over, now it officially begins. Sasuke's eyes widened. Hot, warm-up exercise? You call this a warm-up exercise? This can kill someone. This is the warm-up exercise, how rigorous should the formal training be? Soon, Sasuke realized the intensity of formal training. What about 2-finger push-ups 1,000 times, 1-hand pull-ups 1,000 times, 1-hand handstand push-downs 1,000 times, etc.? It's completely inhumane. Facing this extremely terrifying amount of training, even Sasuke couldn't keep the expression on his face. Deidara. Is this guy a monster? Is this level of training possible for humans? Kakashi. This is just this guy's daily life. Might Guy. Youth in life lies in exercise. Get active, Yinjia. Hoshigaki Kisame. What a rare and precious beast. Uchiha Madara. If it wasn't to this extent, how could he almost kick me to death in 6 paths mode when opening 8 inner gates? Kakuzu. Indeed, if that kick had been to the head, I'm afraid there wouldn't have been a scene for Otsutsuki Kaguya. Senju Tobirama. 8 inner gates. Although you can fully push your potential, and even gain several times more power at the expense of your body, you still need your own physical strength to reach the standard. Might Guy's training method is bound to be able to exert its maximum power. Strong strength. Although Sasuke kept complaining in his mind that Might Guy's training methods were inhuman. But after training for a week, Sasuke had to admit that the amount of training, which was extremely terrifying for ordinary people, was very suitable for him. Obviously, although his nerves look rough, Might Guy is obviously extremely experienced in training. One glance revealed the limits of what Sasuke could endure. Therefore, in this way of constantly squeezing his own potential, Sasuke's physical fitness is rapidly improving in all aspects. According to Ake's description, Sasuke at this time already had a physical fitness close to that of Jonin. If you continue to train according to this trend, you will be able to become an excellent Jonin ninja in less than 3 months. After a week of training, Might Guy left the village because he needed to perform a mission. Sasuke was relieved for a moment. So, he came to Konoha Hospital to visit Xiao Ji, who was seriously injured. As soon as he arrived, Sasuke met Tenten and Neji, who had just left the ward. As Xiao Li's teammates, the two often come to visit Xiao Li. Seeing Sasuke suddenly appear, Neji frowned subconsciously, but didn't say anything. Tianshin's eyes lit up. He's a handsome boy from the Uchiha clan. Are you coming to visit Xiao Li too? I heard Guy tell the truth that Xiao Li's surgery was successful only because of your help. Neji also thought of what Might Guy said, and the alertness in his eyes slowly dissipated. Although, Neji always felt something was wrong when he looked at the smile on Sasuke's lips. But it's not good for him to have too much bad feelings towards Sasuke because of this. After all, it is true that Sasuke helped Xiao Li. Thank you very much for Xiao Li, Sasuke said with a smile. Everyone is a companion in the same village, so it is natural to help each other. Neji frowned. Although he felt that Sasuke's words were not sincere, Neji agreed with them. We are all from the same village. Although the Hyuga family has very Saudan rules, in the environment of Konoha, as members of the Hyuga clan, their situation is still very good. Moreover, the fourth Hokage has been promoting reform within the Hyuga clan and wants to eliminate the inhumane practice of caged bird. It's just that the support it received at the beginning was too weak, and the resistance of the Hyuga clan was relatively strong. But now, as the elders in power in the Hyuga clan have grown older, this matter has slowly begun to be reformed under the secret promotion of Hyuga Hiyashi, the head of the clan. After the Chunin exam, Neji received a guarantee from Hyuga Hiyashi that no one in Neji's next generation would be imprinted with caged bird. It can be said that Neji sees the situation of Hyuga branch house getting better and better little by little. So, although Neji didn't believe what Sasuke said, he agreed with it. If you want to visit, do it as soon as possible. Although we gave him a few words of persuasion, he is feeling a little confused because he can't practice recently. Neji said calmly, his tone full of concern for Xiao Li. Sasuke nodded with a smile and said, "Don't worry, I won't say anything I shouldn't say. I just recently practiced with Senior Might Guy for a week, and I feel a little emotional about it. It's really unimaginable how Xiao Li managed to follow Senior Might Guy's inhuman training last night." When Neji and Tianshin heard this, they immediately laughed. "I just said that Teacher Kai hasn't seen anyone recently. Did he go to train you?" Tianshin said with a smile. Neji's smile slowly faded, but a smile still remained on his lips. Because he heard the sincere emotion in Sasuke's tone. It's not pretending. As the strongest taijutsu ninja in Konoha, Teacher Guy's methods are indeed not acceptable to ordinary people. But if you can persist for a week, you can see that your talent is extraordinary. He is truly a genius of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke suddenly said with a smile. No, how can I be a genius? Compared with the real geniuses in the clan, I'm still far behind. Tianshin suddenly asked curiously. Uchiha, who is more talented than you? Who is there? Neji said without waiting for Sasuke to answer. Of course it's his brother. Although I just heard it from the head of the family, I heard that the eldest son of the Uchiha clan leader, Uchiha Itachi, is the real genius among the Uchiha clan. I graduated from ninja school at the age of 6 and joined Anbu at the age of 11. I am the youngest person to join Anbu in history. Tianshin couldn't help but let out an exclamation of exclamation. Wow. So awesome. Then, Neji frowned slightly and said. I remember that the head of the family also mentioned someone. It seems to be named Uchiha Ake, but the head of the family did not elaborate on what this Uchiha Ake had done. Just tell me, that is a different Uchiha. Other Uchiha give people an arrogant feeling, but he always puts on a kind smile. With that said, Neji's eyes fell on Sasuke. It should be similar to Sasuke-kun's current smile. The corner of Sasuke's mouth suddenly twitched, and then he said. Ake is indeed very powerful, but he is always in the clan area and only goes out on missions very rarely. So the younger generation in the village probably don't know he exists. Tianshin asked curiously. Huh? Why don't you go on a mission? Isn't he a ninja in the village? Sasuke shook his head and said. I don't know about that, anyway, I can always see him in the clan. But it's hard for me to guarantee that what I see is the real him. Neji frowned, not understanding what Sasuke meant. You mean, even if he appears in front of you, you can't be sure that it is him? Sasuke said with a smile. Although you shouldn't say something like this that concerns your own strength, Ake's words don't matter. Because his illusion can't be easily broken, even your white eyes can't break it. If you don't believe it, you can go back and ask your family leader, he should have a deep understanding. Neji left with a puzzled look on his face and a frown on his face. Sasuke also successfully entered the ward. It's Sasuke-kun, I didn't expect you to come over and see me. Xiao Li was lying on the hospital bed, looking at Sasuke without surprise. After all, I have heard the daily conversations between Sasuke and Neji outside. Sasuke looked at Xiao Li, put the fruit basket aside and said. It seems like there are a lot of people coming to see you. I saw that there were too many fruit baskets on the side. Looking at those fruit baskets, Xiao Li's cheeks suddenly turned rosy. I didn't expect that either. They all consider me a friend. Before the Chunin exam, Xiao Li's only friends were Neji and Yao Yao from the same team. But now, he has many friends, it's just a Chunin exam. A lot of changes happened around him. There are more friends around him, which makes him very happy. However, it was really hard for Xiao Li to accept that he would need to be hospitalized for at least a month and not be able to exercise at all within a month. It seems you are quite popular. If I were hospitalized, I'm afraid no one would come to visit me except those girls. Sasuke said with a smile. However, Xiao Li said very seriously. No. I will definitely come to visit you. Sasuke was stunned for a moment, then said with a smile. You're talking like I'm bound to be injured and hospitalized. Xiao Li was stunned, and then scratched his head in embarrassment. That was not what I meant. Sasuke waved his hand and said. No more talking. I came here just to see you. Saying that, Sasuke couldn't help but sigh. I heard from Might Guy Senpai about the efforts you put in to become a ninja. To be honest, compared to ninja families like us who have advantages, you have put in a lot of effort. This may also be the reason why you can show such great strength. To be honest, I was really surprised when I saw you using 8 inner gates so fast that Gaara couldn't even react. Because you didn't give me any sense of being a master at all, but at that moment, even I felt it was a bit tricky to face you. Facing Sasuke's approval, Buji smiled happily. Because this is the best compliment to him. Xiao Li is not a genius, just an ordinary ninja who is extremely diligent. But through his own diligence, he surprised Sasuke, who was a genius, and even found it difficult. This alone made Xiao Li very happy. Okay. I won't say any more. Let's take a good rest next time. You should also know that your injury is very serious. It is not easy to be able to walk on your own legs again. What's more, you can continue to practice as a ninja after you recover. But now, you'd better not think about anything about cultivation. The temporary patience is for a better outbreak in the future. Sasuke rarely said seriously, because he really admires Xiao Li. Especially after going through Might Guy's training methods. Xiao Li also said seriously. I see. In fact, Master Hokage also came over and said that if I practice without permission, I will be deprived of my ninja qualifications immediately. So, I don't dare at all. Sasuke was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. So that's it. It seems like there's really no need to worry. This is the biggest threat to you. Xiao Li smiled helplessly. Sasuke nodded, then turned and walked to the door of the ward. I won't come here again, but I will wait for you to come back at the training ground. Xiao Li nodded seriously and said. Don't worry, I will get there as soon as I recover. Sasuke smiled and left. Deidara. Is it my imagination? I always feel that this Sasuke seems to have a cheerful personality. Uchiha Makoto. Sasuke is a child who loves to laugh. It was just because of those painful experiences that made him suppress his nature. Onoki. I can only say that Ike protected Sasuke very well and did not let him suffer too much pain. He allowed him to awaken the powerful Mangekyo Sharingan and spared no effort to help Sasuke practice. Terumi Mei. This is the emotion a normal child should have, instead of the bitter and resentful look before. Kakuzu. But in fact, more ninjas are people like Sasuke before, who indulge in hatred and killing every day. Scorpion. The ninja itself is such a tool. In order to perform the task, he will pay any price. Jiraiya. I wish all the children could be like this, I feel very happy just looking at them. Orochimaru. But this is just an unrealistic fantasy. Tsunade. This is not a fantasy. Ike has proven that he can do this countless times before. As long as he is here, the ninja world will definitely become such a perfect world. Fourth Raikage. The key is who can master Ike. Only by mastering Ike can we become the king in the future peaceful world. Grandma Chio. Muscular man, you should show your virtue by peeing in the pea. Do you want to touch the porcelain moxa bundle? I'm afraid a slap will make you confused. Uchiha Madara. What a shameless junior. Why do you still want to control Aike? It seems that Aike's memory has not been restored now. When he recovers his memory, you can only become his ministers, and you still want to be the one who controls Aike. Wong. What an idiot. Among the teachers in Konoha, Sasuke stared at the live broadcast room in front of him. What was unfolding in front of him at this moment was something he had envisioned in his dreams countless times. My parents are still alive, and so are my clan members. Sasuke, who has been alone for several years, dreams of having it all again. But, all this can only be in vain, because all he saw was the video in the live broadcast room. In the real world where he lives, only he and Uchiha Itachi are left. And it was Uchiha Itachi, his once most trusted brother, who killed all his people. Even killed his parents in front of him. Even after seeing Uchiha Itachi in the video and being persuaded by Aike to wake up, Sasuke still couldn't forgive that man. Even though he saw in his future video that Uchiha Itachi did all this for himself, Sasuke still couldn't forgive him at this time. Because, Sasuke has seen other ways. A way to solve the problem perfectly without sacrificing the clan members. Therefore, no matter how Uchiha Itachi thinks about him, Sasuke will not appreciate it at all. Because, things don't need to come to this stage at all. Sasuke could definitely live in a happy family. But now, this has completely become Sasuke's extravagant wish. At this time, Sasuke looked at the live broadcast room, and when he saw his mother, his eyes showed deep longing. But when he saw Uchiha Itachi, what was revealed was deep-seated hatred. If Uchiha Itachi knew that his brother still hated him even though he knew the truth at this moment, would he regret everything he had done? Time passes slowly. Sasuke gradually grew up from the smiling boy to a young man with a gentle smile. 3 years have passed since Naruto left to train with Jiraiya. During these 3 years, several people from Sasuke's class have been promoted to Chunin. Sasuke and Neji were even promoted to Jonin. During these 3 years, it's not like Sasuke didn't have the plan to find Shisui, and then find the tailed beast before them to become Jinchuriki. But unfortunately, in the past 3 years, Shisui has not revealed any news. In other words, the Akatsuki organization has not officially begun its plan to capture the tailed beasts. Moreover, when Sasuke's physical fitness has been greatly improved due to training with Might Guy, his own chakra reserves have also increased crazily. In Aike's words, it is enough to continue fighting with Susanoo of the 4th stage. Although it is not possible to maintain the complete Susanoo for a long time, it is enough. The surrounding companions also changed a lot. What surprised Sasuke the most was that his teammate, Haruno Sakura, who had always had a low presence, relied on his excellent chakra control skills to become Tsunade's disciple, and learned superb medical skills from Tsunade's hands, ninjutsu, as well as Tsunade's special skills and strange powers. Sakura punched with all her strength, but Sasuke didn't dare to use his body to resist. Because the destructive power is really strong. Sasuke, who had just returned from his mission, thought it was just another ordinary day. But on this day, when he was walking down the Hokage building, he saw Naruto and Jiraiya who happened to come in. "Are you back?" Sasuke was stunned for a moment, then smiled gently. Seeing Sasuke's smile, Naruto couldn't help but shudder. Etc., etc. What's the matter with your expression? Sasuke's smile suddenly blossomed. What's wrong? Smiling is a way of expressing friendliness. Don't you like smiling? Naruto waved his hands repeatedly. Of course I like to laugh. But isn't it weird that you like to laugh? And your smile now is completely different from before I left. There is no more sinister and cunning feeling at all. Listening to Naruto's stubborn speech, the smile on Sasuke's face did not collapse, but grew stronger. Jiraiya couldn't help laughing, and then said to Sasuke. It's been 3 years since I last saw you. You seem to have matured a lot. Although I really want you to catch up with each other, Naruto hasn't seen his parents for 3 years, so I'll take him back to report first. Sasuke said with a smile. Okay, let me tell the others the good news first. With that said, Sasuke passed by the two of them. Naruto kept looking at Sasuke with strange eyes, always feeling that Sasuke exuded an aura that made him feel very creepy. But nothing happened until Sasuke left, and Naruto could only blame it on being overly sensitive because he hadn't been back for too long. He turned his head to get Sasuke's abnormality out of his mind. Naruto looked up expectantly. He has not seen his father and mother for 3 years. When he comes back this time, he must show off the results of his cultivation this year. After Sasuke left the Hokage building, he did not return to the clan as usual, but went to the training ground. He knew that he would definitely meet a few familiar people there. But before taking a few steps, he stopped, because there were several people running over in a hurry. It's Kiba, Lee, Choji, Shino and Sakura. No need to think about it, it must be because of Naruto's return, otherwise they wouldn't be so excited. Friends who haven't seen each other in 3 years, they must have a lot to say to Naruto. At this time, they saw Sasuke coming out of the Hokage building and immediately surrounded him. Sasuke, have you seen Naruto? Ye Fengfeng asked angrily. Xiao Li said. I just saw him at the door, but I didn't dare to recognize him. Naruto seemed different from before. Little Sakura asked eagerly. Sasuke came out of Akira building. Did he meet Naruto? That's Naruto, right? Sasuke said with a smile. What? You're a teammate of the team, and you just haven't seen him for 3 years and you don't recognize him? Don't worry, he's back. But you have to give him some time, after all, his relatives have been waiting for 3 years. After hearing what Sasuke said, their anxious mood slowly calmed down. Indeed, although they were anxious to see their companions they had not seen for a long time, family reunions were definitely not something they should bother with. Then let's wait here, Sakura said with a smile. Just in time, Choji, go and inform Shikamaru and the others that we haven't caught up with each other for a long time. Sasuke waved his hand and said, I won't go. I don't really like that noisy atmosphere. Besides, what he expects to do with me is definitely not sitting and eating together. Then, Sasuke smiled and left. Little Sakura couldn't help but sigh. Although Sasuke's character is like this, he has never participated in everyone's dinner parties. But Naruto came back 3 years later, and Sasuke was not interested, which really left little Sakura wondering what to do. Let him go, he won't be able to participate anyway. Ya hugged the back of his head and then said. I'll go get someone with Choji, and let's book a table at the barbecue queue. Little Sakura nodded and said. Then please, I'll wait here for Naruto to come out. Since little Sakura followed Tsunade, her behavior has become somewhat more capable. Although when facing Sasuke, he always seems a little shy. But it's much better than when I was indecisive before. Just like now, the work of several people has been assigned in a few words. Sasuke slowly returned to his clan. Since little Sakura and the others want to give Naruto a clean slate, it is impossible to spar with Naruto today. After all, it's getting dark already. The first thing Sasuke did when he returned to the clan was not to go home, but to go directly to another courtyard. That's Ake's home. After entering the door, I saw a mature woman walking in the courtyard holding a baby. Is it Sasuke? Are you coming to see Ake today too? Sasuke said very respectfully. Yes, Teacher Hong. The mature woman in front of her is Yuhi Kurenai, who is also Ake's wife. Of course, it should be called Uchiha Red now. The child in her arms is Ake and her first child, named Uchiha Yui, a girl. Is Ake here? Sasuke asked respectfully.